call to the June 11th meeting. The open session of the Ayer Planning Board this evening. I heard from our other member, she's on her way. So she asked that we feel free to start without her. First order of business, to approve the agenda, please.
I move that we approve the agenda for the June 11th, 2019 open session meeting of the Ayer Planning Board.
Second. Second. Any discussion?
Did you want to consider moving the
Yeah.
board minutes?
So I have a point. Given that we've got folks here this
Yeah.
evening, I'd like to take the administrative function of approving minutes for the last couple of meetings and move it to the end of the meeting so that we can jump right into the agenda items, if that's okay with the rest of the board.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So if that's friendly, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Good. So the first order of business this evening is discussion for the Joyce Lane subdivision. Joyce Finney and Peter Knox.
That's me.
Sure.
Can I move this?
Them in there, the speaker, so.
Oh, sorry, you
If
can,
you push it a little bit,
there we go.
and he doesn't grab his ears when
Yeah,
he
he doesn't come in.
Oh, well. New microphones.
Yeah, you put it in the last one.
First, I'm going to share these plans with you. I've got three big ones.
I'm sorry, are you Peter?
I'm Peter, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Peter, thank you. No,
My
thank you for
name
coming.
is Peter Knox.
We'll share this and you can share that.
One more for down there. And then I've got little ones for
I
you.
have them, and they all have little copies as well.
What century is this? You're like the last century.
Yes, it was. Again, my name is Peter Knox, and I'm here today with Joyce Finney. We're basically here to seek your advice and direction. Joyce and her husband Frank, who just passed away last year, God bless his soul, owned and operated the body shop right down the road here called Center Collision
Yeah.
for years.
Unfortunately, I thought I recognized the name.
And they also owned a piece of property right here on Central Street, which they came before, not this board, but a planning board represented by people in Ayer, back in 1994, seeking to get a subdivision approved. The plan was approved, and that's the plan you see in front of you. As you can see, it created two lots. One has and still does have a pre-existing two-family home on it, and the other one is now a vacant lot. And it was Joyce Lane that was going to serve and provide frontage for both lots, and it was also going to provide access for both lots. From what I can gather from the limited knowledge that's available to me, is that those lots were going to be the only two lots that could use this access for frontage or access. In addition, the town of that planning board in 1994 voted that road would be a private way, and that the petitioners could never petition the board to accept the road as an acceptable road, and they would never have to maintain it. So Joyce came to me and we discussed the plan, and I said, it appears to me that you have more than ample space to put at least one residence on that lot too. We discussed it for a while. She told me that she desperately wanted to sell it. She had got to an age where she wanted to stop working and going crazy and sell some land, and this was one of them. So I went on her behalf to see Charlie Schultz, the building department, and Charlie looked at it quickly. He looked at me and he said, Peter, he said, I'm unsure of it. He said, because it's a 1994 plan. He said, I'd like to recommend that you go to the planning board and if you get there okay, he said, I'll give you a permit in 2 minutes.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, I'll do that, Charlie. So after that, I made contact with your planning director
Mhm.
and his assistant, and they both did a lot of diligent work trying to research this plot. And going back to 1994 is a challenge. I know it's a challenge for me in my law office. If you ever call me up and ask me for a 1994 law file, I'm probably never going to find it.
Yeah.
So after they performed probably a week's worth of work, just for me, I'm not going to pay them for the time. Though.
We
They
all do.
It's true.
they really couldn't come up with anything that could give me anything in addition to what you see in front of you. So after that, I immediately got a hold of the surveyor who
Okay.
did the original plan. His name was Duchamp. It is now Duchamp and Dillis. They're out of Bolton. Mr. Duchamp himself has retired. So I had to speak with some of the people that now work there and who were not working there when this plan was approved. They were, however, able to find a file, and they informed me that they had adequate information in there to locate sites on the plan. And what I desperately was looking for was, I think there were like several waivers that were given by the board on that night, and I was hoping that they had those in the file. And as it turned out, they had nothing like that in the file at all. So I said, well, I guess I should just go in front of the planning board, as I was told to do, and ask them for some direction and instructions. So I guess to really wrap it up quickly, we're asking you tonight to, number one, we're seeking to get a permit, for you to authorize us to get a permit, you know, from the building inspector. So naturally, our priority is, that's our primary request. We're also realistic and also clearly understand that's probably something you can't do right immediately based on what you have in front of you.
Right.
So, in the alternative, we have several. One, we're
We're renting
asking,
out the upstairs for wrestling matches. Okay.
Okay,
Our staff salaries are going up a little bit. Sorry, Mr. Knox.
in the alternative, we're kind of hoping that you will allow us, if possible, to resubmit the existing plan as a plan for requesting subdivision reapproval or a stamp of approval.
Yep.
And at that public hearing, you know, so indicate to us what other conditions you may want in addition to the ones that are already placed upon it, and make your decision based on that. And we do realize that that could be a tough haul for you guys too, but I think it's one that can be done. But in the alternative, we also asked that you possibly could consider this take all the information that we've been provided and ask you to give it to town council for an opinion on what they think that we should do. Now, in speaking with Duchamp and Dillis, because one of the possibilities, which I am praying won't happen, is to actually have somebody say to me and Joyce, you got to resubmit an entire new plan. So with that in the back of my mind, that was the second reason I called Duchamp and Dillis, and they indicated to me they didn't have a whole lot of information, and they figured the cost to my client would be somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 to resubmit. And I said to myself, I didn't say it to him because I didn't want to get him angry, but we're looking for just one house lot, and you've already surveyed it, and you've already told me you have the site work already all done. I'm just not sure how that could be that costly. Now, tonight, with us, and she was very kind enough to come, is a lady by the name of Colleen Nordstrom. And believe it or not, she was a member of the board when this was passed. And she's willing to get up and tell you what.
You've identified one of the 4 names. I was wondering about other planning board members on the.
Well, we found one of them and got her here
Okay.
because she's a good friend of Joyce's.
You're stacking the deck.
I know.
So, thank you.
Well, would you like her to tell you what she remembers?
Before, you know what, let me just kind of set the stage, if I can.
Okay. Yes.
First of all, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In all honesty, I hadn't seen an email from the staff when I saw the agenda. And I'm a forgetful guy. I just had a big birthday, and it's about time for me to forget things, and it's okay. I couldn't for the life of me remember why. And I think I now understand the name, and I'm very sorry about your husband. He was a very, very well thought of and loved man in this
He
town.
was.
I did not get a chance to meet him. I've not been here that long. But no, that was, a hole was left.
Yeah, big
A
one.
hole was left. I'm sorry about that. But in talking to Mark today and in talking to Heather today on the phone, they had given us kind of the same information. And for the rest of the board, just to touch the tops of the waves, what Mr. Knox is telling us is basically true. This happened 25 years ago.
25 years, right?
We probably don't have really good records for it. That's one thing. And I recognize that doing subdivisions can put a burden upon the applicant.
Mhm.
That's something else. And I got thinking about it, thank you for bringing this is helpful. I don't believe our zoning map has changed dramatically since this was done. So I start thinking about the questions, and I'll ask the board to also opine on this in a moment, but is there anything that has changed since then that will impact a decision we make now negatively on your behalf? Or however the decision is made, you see what I'm saying?
I understand.
I don't really want to send you to the lawyers, I don't really want to send you to the surveys if we don't have to. What you're basically asking, if I may, in real short form, because usually Mark does a presentation to me and I get to read it beforehand, is you got this one long piece of lot that goes from Central back to the farm. Whether we're neighbors across the farm. And so, Mr. Guthrie's old house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, kind of over there. So, you want to add access to the rear by putting in a cul-de-sac, a turnaround.
Correct.
I don't know, by looking at this, and I was just trying to do the math in my head, if the frontage would work given our current zoning in this area.
I believe, if I remember correctly, because like you, Hay just said it, the cul-de-sac was put there originally by the attorney. Billy Halligan, who was in the town at the time, I don't know if any of you remember him, he told us originally that we had at least 3 to 4 lots down there. And then when we discussed it at one of the meetings, the attorney said, if you do that, then the fire department's gonna require you to have a turnaround.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there's a necessity to have a turnaround down there because there's 2 means of egress on that property. One is on, I can't think of the name, Oakland?
Groveland?
Groveland Street. And the other one, of course, would be Central Avenue, which would not constitute having to have, in my opinion, to have a turnaround down there.
Well, the width at the bottom may be a challenge, but that's one of the questions we'd have to answer. So, if what you're saying is access from Groveland is achieved at the end of the pond. at the
No,
bottom.
it's
No.
not at the end of the pond.
Oh,
It's
okay.
up.
It's passed away.
Oh, partially, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, fine.
And there's plenty of
You
room
now have
for
the
a
swing
vehicle to
set.
get
It's
to.
not-
The swing set sandbox, I guess.
Well, what happened
I
was,
know.
one of the ladies
that
that lived down there started a
A
date,
neighbor put it on.
Yeah.
Robin Beer, and I went over to her and I said, I don't mind that you're using this, but you gotta understand that's my property.
Okay, got it.
And unfortunately, she's passed away, but
So you own partially lot 1 and lot 2?
I
Okay.
do.
So I mean, just without even going into each individual question, my first question of Mark is going to be, if this is an acceptable stamp set of plans to us, does it meet our current utility and our current zoning?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I wasn't exactly clear, the zoning districts in this area of Central Ave are very compact and there's several zoning districts in this one area.
Yeah.
Do you recall if this was in the A2 or the general residence?
My research indicates it's in A2.
The plan is marked as an E2 residential.
I was kind of hoping it was in mixed use, but it's
Yeah.
not. It came close.
Looking at this, I just have this idea, it's something to consider. One route, instead of doing a new subdivision, would be to seek a variance. If you took the area of what's Joyce Lane with the cul-de-sac there, and you made one long lot that goes all the way back to Flanagan's Pond, you could, I know you don't have the frontage, so they would need a variance from the ZBA to have 2 lots with substandard frontage. The Lot A or Lot 1 here is off of 100 feet of frontage by only, it looks like 2.5 feet or 3 feet.
Yeah.
Whereas the other lot is long and skinny, and that, is a greater difference from the required frontage. However, given the lot size, if you combine that area of Joyce Lane with the area in the back of Lot 2, that's quite the large lot for that district. And given that the subdivision would have given you 1 building lot in the back, and if you combine that area and request a variance for the 1 lot with reduced frontage, that would result in a building lot as well, if you were granted the variance. So that may be a way to get around the subdivision issue and the cost of the subdivision. Of course, it depends on how the ZBA would act, but,
It would also cut back on impermeable surface of building a road.
right, yes.
So if
You would have a long driveway instead
whether
of,
whether or not you
Right.
build the road or if this is being done as for a future use, you wouldn't have to build a road of that size.
Okay.
Or you may not be in a position where you're building the road. Because we're not professional engineers, but
I think that may be worth exploring as an option. Given how old the subdivision is and and the fact that, you might think it's sort of overdoing it or overkill to construct a cul-de-sac just for 1 new lot.
yeah, because the cul-de-sac is for the equipment to turn around it.
Right.
And it's something
yes,
that we as a board are probably going to be we
Right.
believe fire equipment's important.
Right. The fire department would
Access
probably,
is-
Absolutely.
they'd probably request that the driveway have, a certain hammerhead configuration or a turnaround for a fire truck.
Yeah.
But that would be much easier to meet than putting in a new cul-de-sac.
So I guess I want to ask a quick question, and of course I'm going to ask the board if you have any questions also. But honestly, the first question really is what has changed in 25 years that would negate this, or what has changed that would make this not be? So permits are issued typically with a life. A building permit typically has a life to it. Subdivisions that are put in place that are done in phases. You have to do improvements along the way. You can't just get it and go back in 15 years later. It's done for reasons, for good reason. And that's one of the questions Mark and I have talked about today is when something is sat this long, last thing I want you guys to end up doing is start the process and find out, oops, we made a mistake. So it might be worth a question to ask if we can. I just don't know the direction. I bet people in the room who probably can tell me what it is, but I don't think that I would want to put them on there, put their neck on the line, if you were. Anything else? Ken?
Well, the typical subdivision, I think, is good for, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's clearly something we have to consider. I don't think we can make a decision tonight, to be honest.
I didn't think
I'm
they
going to
would.
talk about it, but in a practical sense, there's probably 2 or 3 different ways you can go. And the Board of Appeals might be, a good avenue. Basically, right now, if the subdivision has expired, you basically have 1 lot there now, right?
Correct.
The original lot with these homes on, or these garage homes over there. So it's basically sitting there as 1 lot. Must be assessed as 1 lot.
No, it's not.
So it's assessed as 2 lots.
Well, it's just, I have it here if you want to see it.
Okay,
So
so it went to
that's-
record.
That's good. So,
It's assessed as 2 buildable lots.
And so, but the road has not been constructed.
The road has not been constructed,
Okay.
but she has been paying taxes on both lots as buildable lots.
So the current frontage on the existing 122 is on Central Ave. And as far as the driveway and, I mean, the access to the lot.
Yep.
But for practical purposes, it exists, if it's a subdivision, it's approved, it exists on Joyce Lane
That's what,
at this
correct,
point in time. It's
Right.
being assessed as 2 lots.
right.
But we have a non-constructive Joyce Lane, so that's kind of an odd twist. But there's a lot of odd twists, I guess, around town that comes up. But I mean, I think the best bet is to give us a couple more weeks to try to reach out to other people in town and get some opinions and see if we can come up with something that's appropriate for everybody to be satisfied. But the long and the short of it is you're trying to develop and trying to get one more lot. to
Just,
give
yeah,
That one lot.
one house.
Other than,
Also, when you were before the planning board in 1994, this may have predated any conservation.
Right.
I believe it did.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering too.
So, not,
Because at this point, for subdivisions, you start from square one and go with contemporary regulations and laws for this, right?
Right.
Not 1994. We go
actually, that's close to the other side.
and that,
2019.
that's the other question
And
that comes
that
to
could
mind
be-
is, you know, we say yes, and bang, Mass General laws changed. Nothing happened, and they throw the brakes on it also. And I, especially given where it is, given the importance of Flanagan Pond to our aquifer and stuff like that, we really do have to, I think we probably have to figure that out too. Because there are limits of,
Even if there was a second, excuse me,
Yeah.
even if we approved it just the way it's sat,
mhm,
it doesn't get a building permit without going through conservation.
Exactly.
For this,
Yeah.
for lot number 10, because unless they build it more than 100 feet from the edge of the
Exactly.
resource area.
so I'm assuming that would happen anyway.
So the distance is 60, actually, they might be okay, because I'm looking at this, it's like over 100, easily over 100 feet, so,
Yeah, I figured it out, you can do it.
yeah. So that probably doesn't come up at all. I just think we need a little more time, but we'll come up with something.
That's fine.
I don't think we know what I don't actually think we know the question we have to ask her. To be
Right.
just blunt.
I can approach the ZBA's, a staff person,
Okay.
the assistant town manager, and, see if she thinks this is something that would be applicable for a variance, and that's an option. I'm not saying that's the way to go necessarily, but it's, it's an option that I did not consider until sort of thinking it through just now. And,
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you gave them the
But-
minutes.
but thank you for
Have anything about
bringing-
the waivers in there?
No, so
Detail to the
the
mystery.
minutes that I found from 2002
We've had an awful lot going on the
did show
last
that they
couple of
came
months.
back
It's like, did we
in
miss
request
this along
about
the way?
the bond.
I don't know if Colleen
sharing.
still wants to speak, but she did.
I'm happy, let's take a few minutes. I mean, we've got a lot, yes, Colleen made the effort to come.
She did make the effort. Where'd she go?
Hi. First of all, I applaud all of you for your volunteer work. I know what it's like.
This is why we wanted her to speak.
You know, Colleen, we've got a 5th seat open.
Yeah, really. And an associate
If I can come
position.
back to it.
We're a fun
It's a
group.
lot of time, it's a lot of hours, and I'm really very proud of all of you
Well, thank
for
you.
being there. As far as remembering, forget it.
25 years
I'm
ago.
afraid it's been too many years, and I just don't remember specifics.
Mhm.
I know we had a meeting, we had people from that area.
Mhm.
There was no real concerns from them
Mhm.
about it when they left that I know of,
Mhm.
that I remember. Other than that, I know they've been good people, they, care about the town.
And that's another piece of the pie, the puzzle is, we've worked hard to try and get citizen input on subdivisions. Even something that may be as simple, benign as this, need to engage the neighbors, need to engage the community around it, so. Really interesting question,
I don't get anything.
I likened it to my son coming to me and saying, well, Mom said it was okay 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
Mom's not in the room yet, so I can't say that. So Mark, I think we'll probably discuss it a little bit outside of this too.
Yes.
I honestly think the first question really is for an attorney.
Mhm.
We've got a 25-year-old subdivision plan that was accepted. We have very limited information on it. And if we're going to go forward on this, which step goes in front, which foot goes in, upon which stepping stone do we have to step to make sure we get it through? We do not want to put you in a punitive financial situation where you have to resurvey and
Thank
stuff.
you.
That may happen,
Okay.
but let's see about that. You might want to spend a little bit of time with Mark, trying to figure out
I'll give you my card.
if a different approach, and maybe going through the zoning board of appeals for a small variance would be another way of going. The cost of building roads has gone up tremendously in 25 years, and that might be an offsetting thing that might be worth taking a look at. I just don't know. You can reach out to us if you have questions between meetings through Mark. He'll ultimately be the answer, but I'm more than happy to work on it,
Okay,
to be honest with you. It's really interesting conundrum, and it may be so simple we're not seeing it. You can say yes, we just have to find out. Okay.
okay.
That's fair.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you, thank you for your time.
Appreciate your service. 25 years. I shouldn't keep saying that in the past.
Can she get a raise?
Could I,
She just gets more time off now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
could I ask a small favor, and just have one of the big ones back?
Oh, yeah.
Well, of
Right.
course.
No, take, if we can keep one,
That's
Mark.
there.
Yeah, because you're gonna need one.
Yeah, we'll keep one, and you could have two.
Yeah, if you don't mind us keeping one, and, hold on a second.
I'll keep that one.
We always do this. This actually is dated 7/22/94. Sometimes plans change on us, but this is laminated.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I can actually read with.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
all
you
very
coming.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that'll be fun.
Okay, brings us to our next.
Heather, thanks for your work.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks.
I'll keep digging.
Yeah,
I
it's,
might have found a new weed of somewhere else to go, so
Okay.
I'll let you know if I find
It's
anything
been an
else.
interesting exercise going through the records.
I did tell him that, I'll send it to him. Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Because I gotta keep looking.
Laney was still on.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm gonna call him and ask if he had it.
you got it. Next on the agenda, please. Next on our agenda is a public hearing for proposed definitive subdivision for 54 and 56 Littleton Road, 20 lots. We got the proponent in the room? You do. Thank you. We've got a bunch of other folks in the room, and need a motion.
Motion to,
Do we need a motion yet? No.
No, I was going to indicate that according to our existing subdivision regulations, I did go through the checklist, and it does meet the checklist as far as being ready for planning board acceptance of the application to consider. So that would be a motion that could be made, which would open the public hearing.
Okay.
After that, I was going to make a few just general preliminary comments, and then I would, I think it would be most effective and timely for the proponent to describe the subdivision, and then we can discuss, then we can get into the nitty-gritty details of the
Okay.
waivers and the technical issues.
Okay.
we need a motion to accept the
To
plan.
accept the plan.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the plans for the proposed definitive subdivision 54, 56 Wilton Road.
Seconded.
It's been made, moved and seconded to open the hearing. Do you have any discussion?
Satisfied that all the applications and all the submittals are in compliance with our requirements.
Right, yes, of the existing subdivision regs, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Well, let's go.
Okay, my preliminary comments, basically, we did receive a full set of comments from the Department of Public Works, from the Fire Department, and various other departments, which went out in the packet. We can discuss some of those. They are requesting several waivers.
Do you want copies of the comments?
I believe that, I think we should discuss these waivers as a group once we get into the technical discussion. The DPW superintendent did give us a detailed set of comments. However, he did not explicitly address the waiver request, so I think
So we don't have that information yet from the DPW?
not his advice on the waiver request. I will push him for those for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
But I think there's certainly quite a bit to discuss there. Overall comments is one, something that I am working on with the Conservation Commission and the Conservation Commission's administrator is to codify and come up with the actual procedure for the conservation analysis for OSRD subdivisions, because the Conservation Commission gives us their recommendations, which they did, but the Planning Board has not acted on those in terms of modifying them or making findings per se. That could be done either tonight or at the next meeting. I did send out the letter from the Conservation Administrator with her recommendations based on the Conservation Commission's discussion. So, we could take that up at any time. She told me that she may poke in here a little bit later. Oh, she is here. Okay, so if we want to discuss that.
Yeah, can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
We've been referring to this as map 36 lots 3, 21, 22, and 24, 54, 56, and 60 Littleton Road. And I'm seeing it referred to as the John Carroll Reserve. Is that the name of the actual project?
That's the name of the subdivision.
Okay. Just want to make sure
As
we're...
part of the definitive process, we named the subdivision.
Yeah, thanks.
Right.
New twist. Thanks, Gal.
Sure.
Just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing, guys.
We are.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Can I interrupt, as the
Yes.
newer person on the board, could you also introduce yourself since you're
Be
joined us at
happy
the
to-
table
be
for
happy to
everyone
do
in the
that.
room?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Cal Goldsmith. I'm with the firm of Goldsmith, Preston Ringwall here in Ayer, Mass. And we are the design engineers for the subdivision.
Thank you.
okay, in regards to the conservation analysis, I will recommend too that in order that we do not postpone action on conservation analyses in the future, that we have a public hearing in early July to,
Move that forward.
to accept
Okay.
the process. And I am finishing up touches on that. I will need to confer with my colleague on the conservation administrator about that to make sure the timelines work and everything. That will become part of the new subdivision regulations, so we need to hold a public hearing on that.
Okay.
So that's in general. Specifically in terms of this subdivision, we can either make the conservation findings this evening or wait till the next meeting, depending on the board's comfort with those. But I believe that, the Conservation Commission did a good job. Because of the way the site is and where the wetlands are, and the fact that this subdivision was submitted prior to the town meeting vote last fall, that limited the amount of wetlands that could be in the open space. The basic development area, or the development envelope, compared to the open space envelope, won't vary that much. It's what happens and the intensity of what happens within the development envelope that will be the subject more of our discussion in terms of the number of units, common driveways, and all that sort of thing. Several other issues to consider for the conservation analysis are the amount and extent of the stormwater basins within the open space and within the 100-foot buffer zone. So that's something that we will be discussing. The police department and the DPW are recommending a traffic study to be conducted. That's something we can discuss with the applicant later. Keep that in the back of your mind. Fire department had some concerns about the ability of fire truck maneuverability on some of the common driveways. That's something we can discuss. And also, something that we flagged in the preliminary subdivision plan is that there's a section of our zoning bylaw, section 9.6, on land clearing and grading, that calls for a special permit when you're clearing or disturbing more than 10,000 square feet of land at a time, and this would fall under that. So that's something that we can do as part of this process concurrently. We don't have to set that in motion this evening, but that will need to be addressed prior to action on the plan. So in addition to the definitive subdivision approval from the planning board, it will also require Conservation Commission notice of intent and order of conditions, as well as a Mass DOT road opening permit for a state highway.
Yeah, this is on two-way, correct? This is-
Correct,
yeah.
yep. So that's my 10,000, foot overview of the major issues, and
Fantastic. And that brings us to Mr. Walker.
Thank you. I'm going to do a general presentation. We don't have a,
we could put it on the Mondo pad. It'll take a few minutes to,
well, if not, we can work off of the paper
Okay.
plans. It's
All right.
whatever
sure.
you prefer. I do want to address one thing before we get started, and that is the requirement for section 9.6. We'd had this discussion during the preliminary phase. Land clearing and grading, if you look under applicability, basically, just in general, this is intended to be a catch-all. This is for projects that do not require an extensive review of grading and stormwater under any other town process or approval process. And in fact, under applicability, it says, except as provided in subsection B, this shall apply to any clearing and grading over 10,000. So if you go to subsection B, entitled exemptions, the 7th exemption is exempt are activities conducted under an earth removal permit under section 9.7, which we don't have, or an order of conditions issued by the Air Conservation Commission, which we will have. So this is not applicable to our project, and it's not a special permit. I think it's just like a site plan approval type of permit. I would caution using this as a special permit because that has regulatory significance. But I think because of the way this is written, and in fact going through an entire stormwater discussion with the Conservation Commission is certainly going to cover any and all ground that we're going to cover under this process. This was intended to catch those projects that don't have other regulatory processes. So I don't believe that this is required. I don't think it accomplishes anything to do it, and it would be completely redundant.
Have these plans been submitted to the DPW yet?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you took comment.
We just haven't, we haven't
Oh, yeah.
received all.
We did receive initial comments from them. One thing they did not explicitly address were the waiver requests, so I want to, and unfortunately, Mr. Wetzel is at a conference this week, so
Okay.
I wasn't able to.
Yeah, I heard you, I was
Right.
thinking of what you said a few minutes ago, I'm thinking, yeah, I thought it had gone to the.
Yeah,
town.
no,
Yes,
it's
yes, so,
different.
yep. Yep.
And the other thing I just
You
wanted to...
often find out before I do, so,
Yeah, that'd be nice. The other thing I just wanted to comment on was that because we're under constraint of time, we needed to get this definitive subdivision done and filed within 7 months of the preliminary approval in order to preserve the zoning in its current state. When we filed this plan, we needed to proceed with the subdivision and get it done and get it submitted, which we did do. But we did so without the benefit of the conservation findings. And I understand you guys are in process and trying to figure this stuff out. But what I will say is we had gone to the Conservation Commission, we had listened to their concerns, and to the greatest extent that we could, we tried to comply with what their concerns were, which they expressed to you. So their concerns were taken into account in the design of our plan, and I'll show you several ways we did that. I don't think we were able to comply completely with what they had asked us to do, but to the most extent that we could, we did. So although the findings weren't formally issued, we tried to take them into account and in the spirit of the bylaw that was written.
However, the preliminary subdivision plan that we worked on late last year was for 14 lots, not 20.
Yep, that's fine. I'm going to talk about that. As you can see from our subdivision, proposed subdivision.
I got it right here, I'll go through this. You guys go. If you want to go.
Well, feel free to move that if you.
Yeah, I'll put it wherever you guys want.
Oh.
to put it.
It's okay. Thanks, Scott.
You're exactly right. We did change the number of lots. Last one was a 14-lot subdivision. However, these two houses were existing houses that were retained under the preliminary plan. So we took those two houses out and put new houses in for them. So it's actually an increase of 4 lots, not 6 lots.
Those 2 lots were included originally, weren't they?
No, it was 14 lots with those two houses still there.
Here's the preliminary.
They stayed there.
So this is actually an increase of 25% of what we had. But as Mark pointed out, this is less than the limit that your bylaw allows under the cluster. So that's what we're actually doing is still well under the limits of what your bylaw allows. And as you know, a preliminary plan is just that. It's a preliminary plan. You first take it, the process, until you get into definitive design and you start seeing what other things you can do. And our client wanted to see if we could increase the density a little bit. At the same time, we were taking into account the fact that we needed to reduce the amount of, to the extent that we could, reduce the amount of property that was within the buffer zone. So that's what this line is all about, is basically we took all these lots that were partially in the buffer zone out of the buffer zone, because that was a concern conservation had with us. The other thing we did is, and with that, the net effect that had is to increase the open space from 50% to slightly over 50% to about 56%. So we're able to give a little bit more. And as Mark also showed or talked about in his report, there is no prohibition of having stormwater management within the open space. In fact, in most cluster bylaws across the Commonwealth that we've worked in, that's an allowed use. That's having that use, that open space, that stormwater management within the open space is perfectly acceptable, in some cases encouraged. And so, but to the extent that we could, we tried to provide additional open space that then would compensate for some of that. So if you actually take the areas that are within the open space out of it, we still have 50.4% open space. Now that's just happened to work out that way. We cut it down the best we could. It just happened to work out that way. But in any case, the open space is allowed in the stormwater management is allowed in the open space, as it is also allowed in the buffer zone to the wetlands. We've done many subdivisions where we've used a portion of the buffer zone for stormwater management. Generally, if you go on a site with wetlands, the wetlands are at the lowest point of the site. Stormwater drains to the lowest point of the site by design, so when you pick up that stormwater and convey it to somewhere, it's going to be to some of the lowest portions of the site, so it's not realistic to expect that you can keep stormwater management away from the wetlands completely. We can't put it in the wetlands, certainly, and to the extent that we can, we held it away from the wetlands. We're outside the 50-foot buffer zone, but we do intrude on the 100-foot buffer zone a little bit. And from a practical matter, that's not going to have an impact on the wetlands, other than it will release water into this buffer zone, which will then make its way to the wetlands the way it does today. And that's really our test with the stormwater management, is to make sure that at our boundary line, which we call the analysis points, at our boundary lines there, that the amount of water from this subdivision that's getting to those wetlands and the speed with which it gets there in the developed condition mimics what happens in the existing condition. And that's what a stormwater report and stormwater management shows. So we're able to do that. This infiltration basin at the back takes the major portion of the roadway in these houses. It does it through a closed, and the houses themselves discharge onto the ground itself, but the roadway is really the the part that's being collected and discharged through a pipe into this sediment forebay. So the vast majority of the road goes into this infiltration basin here, which does have a sediment forebay with it. This wet basin that's over here is taking overland flow. There's no pipe feeding it. It's basically taking overland flow from the adjoining properties as it comes down. That flow, sheet flows through grass and whatnot, so there's really no requirement for a sediment forebay, which I think is something that the DPW director had said in his comments. The other piece of it, why you don't need a sediment forebay, is we're not taking any credit for TSS removal with this basin. This basin, even though it would be effective at doing so, this basin is strictly for detention purposes, to keep the flow under control so that we're not discharging any more flow to the analysis points than what happens in the existing conditions.
Cal, I shouldn't interrupt you, but if I recall, is that area generally wet already? That basin?
Where the basin is?
Yeah.
I don't think that area itself is any wetter than any place else on the site, but what I will say is in our test pits that we did out here, we found that there's very high groundwater, less than 2 feet
26 inches.
from the surface. Okay, so make a liar out of me, 26 inches. So 2 inches over 2 feet. If you do,
They're gonna be really short basements.
they're going to be slabs on grade.
No basis.
Is basically what they're going to be.
No sense of
Because of
humor
that.
tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
So we eliminated the basements just for that purpose, because they'd all be in the groundwater, and it would be a constant issue of how to drain them and where to drain them to. And so,
How the force main's gonna be pits?
I'm sorry?
The force main's gonna be pits, the sewer main force. You grinders are gonna be
Yeah.
that grade?
No, they'll be in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, they'll be sealed, so it won't be an issue. They're under pressure, so that's a pressure connection. So each of these,
I'm sorry, but I didn't see any holding on the property. They're gonna go just force main to the sewer.
yes.
That's it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's no holding tanks on the property. So they're all gonna be slab on grade, so they're not gonna have basements, which also gives rise to a comment that Mark had talked about. He said, well, maybe we can reduce some of the basins that are in the buffer zone and in the open space by using something that they did over on Devon's, rain gardens. The problem with that is a rain garden is, you gotta be 2 feet above the groundwater table with a rain garden, because it's an infiltration. Or you've gotta line it, and if you line it, then it's having no net impact on your stormwater retention. All it's doing is treating, which we're already doing. We're already treating. But as far as detention, so there's two facets of it, right? You've got water quality, you've got to treat the water quality. You've also got volume and rate, so you've got to hold up the water so it's allowed to release the way existing conditions happen. A rain garden is not going to have any impact on that latter part of this. And in fact, on this site, they're not appropriate just because of the high groundwater table. On Devon's, I'm fairly certain in that area, it's sandy soil. They've probably got much more depth to groundwater. They're going to be much more effective over there. In this case, it's just not going to happen. That wasn't an option available to us. So the road itself generally, there's a high point about 10 feet into the property, and then it drains. There's like a little gutter along the front entrance so that we do not take water from the roadway into our roadway, which is why we don't need the catch basin that DPW was talking about right at the entrance, because we're trying, and we absolutely do not want to take Littleton Road drainage into our basins in the back. So there's a high point. If you look on a profile, you'll see a little drop off the road and then up to a little bit of a high point that gives a slight gutter along the edge of the road. And then all that water, the way the road is graded, it's pitched off to the right side. So it's not a crown road. It doesn't have a crown in the middle. It's a fairly 24-foot wide is not a wide road, so you're able to just pitch it in one direction. It'll run along this gutter and get picked up in a catch basin here and into the back and get picked up in a catch basin at the back. And that gets conveyed into the sediment forebay and then into the infiltration basin.
So, if I'm correct, that's the east side of the road?
That is the east side of the road, yes.
So the east side of the road will pick up, it will act as a barrier for water moving, sheeting across the property.
Right.
What's your intent?
Yes. Yeah, that's gonna be curved, and at each driveway entrance, there's also like a little gutter there so that the water flows by and does not enter into the driveways, the common driveways. When we did this layout, we actually were fresh off discussions with the town here, with Alan Minoyan, about traditional neighborhood design. So one of the things we were thinking about with this, and one of the reasons it got a little bit denser, was we started thinking about creating little neighborhoods and things like with these two houses that face each other across the common driveway and they're set back a bit. And trying to keep the garage, you'll notice the garages are almost universally where we could do it, behind the houses. That's one of the real key concepts of traditional neighborhood design, is they don't want to have the first thing you see of the house when you walk up to it is the garage. So where at all possible, we tried to keep those garages in the back of the houses or alongside it if we had to, but definitely not in the front leading with it.
And also set them back on the property so they don't exactly square. In some cases,
Pushing back into the property, pushing back into like a little neighborhood enclave there. And the common driveways allow us to do that, and it also, as you know, your bylaws talk about common driveways and how residential common driveways are to be encouraged. It says that right in your bylaws. So that's something we took to heart. So we tried to do that. That's why we came up with the scheme. Now each of these could very easily just have the garage sitting right up the front and a driveway going right into it off the road. But we were trying to do something.
Hold on. You're saying all 20 of those units could do what you just said? You just said that all of these could have garages facing.
Well, except for the ones way out in the back, but even so, those.
That's what happened with the original plan. That's what we showed. There was only 14. That was, incidentally, the original plan is 12 new houses and only 14 lots, including the 2 on the road. So your opening statement already stated, you want to see it?
Yeah, actually I do. That's not how I remember it.
There's 14 lots there, including the 2 that were existing, which could easily be replaced with 2 brand new homes, but originally it was 14.
No, you're right. Okay. So it is an increase of 6.
Not only that, the statement was that you could turn all of these facing the road and get the driveways in. It can't be
No,
accurate.
the ones that are on the front, you
Otherwise,
anything that fronts right directly on the road, you certainly could do. The common driveways allow it to get to the back, but remember, this is not a conventional subdivision. This is by design, by your bylaws, what you passed. You said to us, we're not going to do a traditional, if you want to do a regular traditional subdivision, you have to apply for a special permit only after we tell you we don't like this. And this design is what was encouraged. It's what the new bylaw is all about. So you can't apply traditional neighborhood or traditional subdivision design where you got a whole bunch of houses fronting right on the road and say, this doesn't look like that. I guarantee it doesn't look like that. Well, that wasn't the intent of this. This was, under the new bylaw, increase density, try and reduce the amount. And while we did increase the number of houses, we also reduced the amount of space that we were using and increased the open space, which is what we were asked to do. So I think that was a win-win in my mind. So I'm a little confused by why there's a negative reaction to the increased density when that's what your bylaw is all about. That's what it's intended to do, is to increase the density on the site, allow you to have smaller lots, greater open space. So that was our intent. There's been a question raised about easement. There's an easement between lots 10 and 11 on that lot line, 15-foot easement that goes to the sediment forebay. It doesn't show on this plan, it shows on the record plan that gets recorded at the registry. So we'll add it to this plan to make it clear. That's for maintenance of the sediment forebay. There's been other discussions about having people on the west side being able to have access to the open space, which is a reasonable thought. So my first thought was to create an easement. You've already got a driveway easement along between lot 14 and 13. We could easily extend that just to the end, and then that driveway would actually be the open space, access to the open space for the entire subdivision. That'd be a very easy thing to change. The other thing that we could do is we could do it between lots 9 and 10 with that common driveway, but that really just leads to the infiltration basin, and I don't think that's really appropriate. You don't want to direct people into your infiltration basin, so we stayed away from that.
Calvin, just quickly,
Yeah.
the easement for the infiltration basin is between 10 and 11 or 9 and 10?
It is between 10 and 11.
Okay,
Um,
pretty much along the straight line that's there, demarking the lots.
Yeah, actually, it's, and I apologize, it didn't get onto this plan. It's on our legal sheet
Well,
where you
it's,
see all
basically it's following,
it's following the lot line.
it's following the lot line, but also you've got a structure underneath. I can't, it's.
Yeah, there's a stormwater.
There's a stormwater structure there. I mean,
That's
assuming
where
you're
the
gonna try
pipe
and go
comes
on
in.
top of it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that's intended to do. But we can, and we will amend the plan to show that on this layout plan, so we're clear where that easement is, and then add an easement between lot 13 and 14 to get access to that open space. I think that'd be appropriate. So other than that, let's go to the grading plan a little bit, see if there's anything I want to talk about there. Grading plan, in general, this whole site flows to the back, to the low spot here and to the back of the property. So that's why we've situated our stormwater where we did, as I discussed before. It's a fairly simple drainage pattern. The roadway is at like a 4% slope for most of it. So it's fairly flat, and the cul-de-sac is fairly flat as well.
Standard asphalt road?
I'm sorry?
The 2 minutes asphalt, 2 minutes
Yes,
asphalt?
yeah, it's gonna be the standard road section here, yeah. We didn't make any attempt to, and it wouldn't be appropriate on this site to try and do any pervious paving or anything, because we don't have the soil and have the high groundwater underneath it, so that wouldn't work. And then we've got, as we do with every definitive subdivision, we have the profile, and again, here's the 4% coming down with a slight dip at the entrance, 2% dip each way at the entrance, then 4% to a 2%, and then across the cul-de-sac rising to 1.25%. We do show an island in the cul-de-sac. Your DPW director, as most DPW directors will do, has asked that that be paved, because we don't like it because it increases the amount of pavement to be mitigated, and we think it's nicer to have some kind of a landscape island or something, but it does create headaches for people when they're plowing, for DPW when they're plowing. It's because then they've got, at least it's in the proper shape, the Q shape, so that it allows them to plow around it. If it's in the P shape, they've got to stop and then go in the other direction, and that's a real pain. But I can understand his objection to it. It's much simpler to be able to plow if you don't have that island in the middle. So we'd be amenable if that's...
Is he asking for a spot for snow storage, or just be able to plow the whole thing over?
He's just asking for it to be able to plow the whole thing. I mean, snow storage would just generally be at off to the side of the properties themselves. It might be handy in the middle for snow storage, but you could do that if it was a low landscape, junipers or something like that. As well.
Even just something non-pavement hardscape.
And then the erosion sediment control plan, basically we're showing erosion control all around the limit of work, including the 2 basins themselves. We've got equipment and material storage and stockpile areas shown on the site. And there's also the erosion sediment control notes and construction details. It goes into great detail about how a contractor should behave on the site and how he should conduct his operation and what he should be thinking about in terms of sequence of construction and controlling runoff and not allowing sediment into the basins or into the infiltration basins. You don't want to allow sediment to flow into the infiltration basin because that affects its future ability to infiltrate, so they want to hold that off. Then we've got our typical construction details about tree plantings and roadway cross sections, and this is where you get into the pavement sections and the curbing and whatnot. I know the DPW has asked for several things on this piece of it, which would be, there's a whole bunch of construction details. I won't take you through the whole thing, but DPW has asked for several things. I just wanted to talk about Mark's letter a little bit. I'll leave the traffic study for the end, but the street lights, they're not required, but that's fine if he wants to put street light. Most subdivisions do have them, although a lot of owners complain about them
That's a typically at the intersection of the main road and then possibly one
at a cul-de-sac. Yeah, I mean, that's typically all you would do, but people at cul-de-sacs hate them. It's been my experience. I've heard a lot of complaints about them, but we're happy to do it if that's what he wants. Proposed sewer laterals and E1 grinder pump manholes shown on the plans, we'll do that. Design report for the E1 pressure system, we'll do that. Curb stops at the property line's fine. He wants an additional hydrant at the entrance to the project, that's fine, we'll do that.
Curb stop for water only, or for water and sewer?
Curb stop's just for the water. The sewer connection will just be the E1 pressure. But he wants a manhole. He wanted the sewer lateral kits and the E1 grinder pump manholes shown on the plan. So there's a manhole for each of those.
Okay.
Fire hydrant at the entrance, radii of entrance curbing at Littleton Road, granite, that's fine. Additional catch basin, that's what I was talking about a little bit, where I said we're trying not to take, there will be runoff from Littleton Road entering the roadway. No, that's what we're trying to avoid with the design of the profile at the entrance, is to keep.
Was his ask for a double basin there at the road?
Yeah, he wanted a catch basin there, but then what that's gonna do is it's gonna collect all the water on Littleton Road and send it down into our basin, which is not designed for.
So he's asking one connected to the system?
Yeah, we're not gonna drain Littleton Road. That's not happening.
Hold on a second. You're opposed to draining it down to your system. Is there a existing drain on Littleton Road, a town?
Yeah, there's drainage in Littleton Road,
That
but,
you can connect to, so you're not impacting your calculations?
well, we're not gonna connect to it, but it's gonna flow on Littleton Road the way it does today.
I think what Ken's asking is,
Does the
if
town have
a
an
catch basin
existing?
was added to the entry road,
Right.
connecting it out instead of in order to move the water into the catch basin, the catch basin system. That's
Well, you'd have to, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, because I haven't looked at Littleton
Yeah.
Road drainage, I don't know anything
I
about
didn't expect
how
you
it
to have an
drains,
answer, I think
but,
that's actually the question he's
yeah.
asking, Cal.
But yeah, no, I don't have an answer to that.
Thank you.
Talked about the cul-de-sac already. He wanted to extend the sidewalk, assuming you give us the waiver for not having it on two sides. He wanted to extend it all the way around the cul-de-sac, that's fine. Common driveways, there's an,
On the east side.
yeah, it'd be all the way around to the whole length of the bulb of the cul-de-sac. A provision for the turnaround, we talked, a provision for emergency vehicles where the common driveway is greater than 150 feet in length. We're actually going to shorten up those common driveways. We may flip some of the houses
Okay.
to put the garage closer to the road so that we can shorten up the driveway so we don't have to make the 150 feet because we don't have room to do a turnaround for a fire truck at the end of it. But we've got to comply with
So I'm
NFPA.
looking at a quick one, so they're called the sidewalk, somewhere around lot 5, lot 4, is where it went. I wish these plans were like, on the phone, go like this, and they actually,
Oh, right.
not the paper ones, but yeah.
You want
Too
laminated
small.
plans?
Huh?
You want laminated plans?
No, I want to be able to go like this and look at the detail.
Oh, yeah, just like on
Just like on the, yeah.
Even
Smartphone,
the
yeah.
desk, it could just be
Yeah.
on the table or.
So the sidewalk comes down the east side,
It's very difficult to do.
it extends around, and I think it stops right here.
Okay.
You'd like it extended.
Yeah, this is section 4.
Did you bring your stormwater calculation?
So,
Oh, stormwater calcs, Heather has those. In fact, and I have the plan that was marked up earlier too, that's.
It's questionable how much,
If you want
it's actually questionable how much use sidewalks get in small cul-de-sac subdivisions, but there's always at least one
There are more and more
side.
dogs being walked.
There are, all the time.
They actually create a neighborhood for us.
They do. No, that's part of the traditional neighborhood design too, is to encourage that. House numbers on the houses, permanent signs, yep. Declaration of covenants, that's still to be discussed with the planning board. That's just what he would like to see. maintain a minimum clear width. That doesn't mean that it's got to be a paved width, but it's a minimum clear width for the driveways of 20 feet. And he wants that in the Declaration of Covenant.
Okay.
I think that might apply to the common driveways. I don't think it applies to individual house driveways. I think they're exempt from that NFPA requirement. I'm not, the common driveways maybe as well, but we basically have a 20-foot easement for the common driveways anyway, so that's not a problem. So we meet that requirement. Social suitability assessment it was not in the submittal. That was inadvertently left out. We do have that for you tonight, plus the deep observation hole logs. We'll have that available for you. He's talked a little, I don't know if you want to get into this kind of detail, but he talked a little bit about the soil groupings, and he thought it differed from what we had actually showed. We think it's correct. Maybe that's something we should just talk to him about and review with him to his satisfaction, so we don't get mired.
Look at the same part of the map,
Yeah.
because I know they do pay a lot.
They do. Well, that's the basis of our whole drainage
Yeah.
system, is to
So let's
understand
just make
that.
sure we're-
But based on what we saw out there, it's a sea soil just because it's so wet and impermeable. So the proponents shall certify, submit inspection and maintenance reports. DPW, that has to do with the operation and maintenance plan, so that's fine. Inspection logs. Wet basin maintenance includes a 4-bay area. None is shown on the drawing. Again, that was in the infiltration basin. We do have a 4-bay, but in the other basin where we're not taking any credit for TSS removal because we don't really need it coming across the lawn, we don't have a 4-bay.
The upper basin, lower basin, the second basin, the lower one on the plan is what you're saying.
The lower one on the plans at the back of the cul-de-sac does have a 4-bay.
Yes.
The one that's partway down the road on the east side does not have a 4-bay and doesn't really require it. We're not claiming that it's, even though it will, we're not claiming it's removing any sediment for our calculations. The wet basin maintenance indicates heavy construction equipment reaching inside. I think that's in our O&M plan. Please explain. I don't know the answer to that. Do you know that off the top of your head?
That's just a revision that we have to make.
Okay, so we'll make that revision. So let's talk about traffic studies a little bit. Does anybody know what the traffic count along Littleton Road is? You guys have been exposed to that before.
You couldn't find it by looking for the Global Montello research, probably would show it in there, because they looked at Littleton Road and what.
I mean, it's gotta be 10,000, 15,000 trips a day is a minimum, I would think.
I don't recall the original Bill Montello on the Jarvis property, if they got that far.
Yeah.
If the study got that far, yeah.
Yeah, I can check with the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission because they do traffic
I
counts.
think the
and
answer is no, we don't.
Okay, but it's-
We will get
But
that
it's
for
a
the
big,
next
it's a
meeting.
big number.
Right.
Let's put it that way. We're talking about 180 trips a day, basically, an increase of 180 trips a day. So we've got 18 houses we're adding, so that would equate to 10 trips per day, usually for a residential. So 180 trips a day, when you're talking about multiple thousand, tens of thousands trips. The NFPA requirement for a traffic study is that it should have a significant impact on the traffic in order to require Mass DOT, Mass DOT. The project will require partnering with Mass DOT, which is true. Comment 2, may trigger a traffic impact study. No, it will not, because we're nowhere close to hitting the trigger for a traffic study for this subdivision. 180 trips as compared to 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever it is.
So add that the threshold to have a substantial increase in or an impact on traffic is about 2,000 trips generated at one site. So we're well below that.
So we'd have to generate 2,000 trips, and we're generating 180.
I would like, I'm not questioning you, but I would like, if you could send me that information too, that would.
Yep.
All right.
This is Lim Hut Tiv, by the way. He's an engineer in our
I'm
office.
guessing he works with you, Cal.
He did, yeah, I know. I didn't introduce him. I'm sorry.
You barely introduced yourself, so.
Well, I didn't
Nice to meet you.
I didn't get a chance to. When it was my turn to talk, I always do
Right
that.
up there.
I always do that. So basically, I mean, most of the stuff that Mark was asking for, we're okay with. The traffic study, there was also a suggestion from the police chief that we needed a traffic study to be able to reduce the speed limit on Ayer Road. That may well be the case that, I'm sorry, on Littleton Road. That may well be the case that that needs a reduction. I wouldn't argue with him, he knows way more about that than I do, but I think this subdivision is not gonna be the driving issue on, and a subdivision normally wouldn't have any impact on the speed limit on State Road. I mean, that's a whole different discussion. There was also a discussion from DPW director who talked about a number of projects in that area across the street, like 3 different projects in that area that are all happening at the same time, and a traffic study, which basically would be a traffic study of the intersection with Shaker Road, which we don't,
Right, yeah.
which we don't particularly impact, but because we don't use Shaker Road. But you know, if the board put something like that together and wanted us to participate and felt there was a genuine need to discuss that, that's something that could happen. I think there's also the potential for other projects coming along right in that area that might be able to support that. So we should talk some more about that.
Yes, okay, I will investigate that further.
My gut feeling is just that there's good information to be had from that, a joint study along those lines.
Yeah, there probably is. It probably would be helpful. I don't think this project can support it, but if you can put together a
Would share
consortium of...
several, because, yeah, we have a 20-lot subdivision on Shaker Mill Pond that also had preliminary approval last year. I'm not sure about their
And you got 7
timetable.
lots along Shaker Road,
That
I
comes
know.
out of the back of the trucking company, the lime company.
Yeah, it's
Right,
Madigan.
Yes.
I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, Madigan. And the Madigan property, you know, at some point may be developed as well, so.
You think? That pool doesn't get a lot of use these days.
No, I haven't seen many people swim there.
I've never seen anybody in that pool.
So there may be some opportunities to get something like that done. But I don't think this subdivision can support it. The other question that was raised that Hut just showed me, there was a question of sight distance in the police chief's report. We actually looked at that. Going to the east, there's a 1% down gradient slope that requires, at a 45 miles per hour speed, requires 308 feet of stopping sight distance. We've got stopping sight distance in excess of 389 feet, so we're a good 80 or 90 feet more than what would be required. Looking to the west, our survey stops at 344 feet, which is, with a 3% upgrade, that 344 feet is the required stopping sight distance for 45 miles an hour, but the actual sight distance available is well in excess of that. We just didn't survey any further than that. But it's probably in excess of 500 or 600 feet. So sight distance really is not an issue for this roadway coming out onto Route 2A. It's got pretty good distance in each case. We've also done the sweep analysis that the fire department has requested, and we'll be actually modifying our common driveway between lots. I don't know what. The 2 on the end, 9 and 10.
Should be 9, 10, and 7 and 8.
So we'll add a little width to the driveways to accommodate the fire trucks to make sure that they can make that turn.
Okay, I just happened to look at Chief Radazzi's letter from Chief's office. The project will be wide and it's got driveway lanes for 8, 9,
It's all highlighted.
5,
Yeah.
6, and 7.
I'm sorry. Yep.
5, 6, and 7.
Hey, just let's
That's
do the
5,
work.
6, and 7, yeah.
Let's
Those are
just-
the 2.
Then let's do the work that he's asking.
It's those 2. Yeah, it's those 2 that we're talking about. So we've run that sweep analysis. We'll get that to him to look at, and then we'll be making that revision as we do our other revisions on the property.
I thought it was nice of the chief.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
As far as other comments, let's just see if there's anything I haven't addressed.
The request for an additional fire hydrant at the.
Yep, we'll do that at the entrance, yep.
Thank you.
So we requested 1 sidewalk. Generally, a cul-de-sac like this, short cul-de-sac, 1 sidewalk is sufficient. Doesn't get a lot of traffic, there's no through traffic. And our experience is people spend more time on the road than they do on the sidewalk anyways, but So that's a waiver that we've asked for, so you guys are gonna have to talk about that, think about that. Tree plantings. So generally where we're requesting a 40-foot right-of-way with a 24-foot wide road instead of a 50-foot right-of-way and a 36-foot wide road, which is what Ayer requires, which is huge. 36-foot wide of pavement would be ridiculous in this road. I think Ayer normally pretty regularly grants a waiver down to 24 feet. And that would only require a 40-foot right-of-way. But then the 40-foot right-of-way, typically what happens is the trees go on the side that doesn't get the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk goes on the other side. Unless the trees are planted in the front yard of the houses themselves, but if you're trying to plant it in the right-of-way itself, then you don't want to put it between the sidewalk and the curbing, that 2-foot grass strip, because nothing survives in there for very long. It just ends up looking terrible.
Makes you wonder why we have them.
Kind of does. Yeah, I mean, I've long maintained it'd be better to put the curbing, have the curbing come up, have the sidewalk right off the curbing, and then have the rest of it be grassed. But I guess from a safety standpoint, people like to see a little bit of a buffer between the edge of the road and the sidewalk itself. I can understand that.
So we just discussed just making sure you just went down through all the waivers you're requesting: street cross sections, roadway width, drainage.
Drainage. Requesting a waiver for that because we've got the drainage going to one side of the road because that's all that's really required, and then a double catch basin at the sag at the cul-de-sac, and then partway down the road. And not one at the entrance where he had talked about, because we're trying.
This comment, I believe, is about the minimum diameter.
Oh, the minimum diameter. I'm sorry. Yeah. So a lot of towns specify a minimum diameter pipe, and our preference and good engineering practice is to design the pipe to convey the stormwater where the hydraulic gradient at the crown of the pipe during a 25-year design event, so that the pipe is functioning properly. You don't want to have more than 80% full, because then pipe friction impedes the flow and it doesn't flow correctly. But if you get it sitting at the crown of the pipe, that's during a 25-year event, that's generally adequate for the design, whether it's 15 inches or 12 inches or 18 inches.
Okay.
But
So-
it's based on the actual flows the pipe's going to see, rather than putting a big pipe in and getting a little tiny flow out of it.
So basically, the pipe diameter you're recommending, you're asking for is?
Good question. What's our drain pipe diameter?
It's not sure.
I think
It's on our profile, I'm sure. I'm going to say it's probably 12
I was
inches.
trying to figure it out, actually.
I'm going to say it's probably 12
You know
inches.
me, Cal, I actually think about this.
I know you do.
That's why I was wondering why there's no.
I'm sure it's on our profile. But,
No shut-offs on the E1s. I know I can't impose them, but having dealt with E1s, the backflows fail on them. It's really
Yeah.
a nice thing.
yeah.
So coming down the road, you're looking at
Or is that just showing it?
Yeah, I didn't find it, Cal. It may just be in one place I didn't look.
Yeah, so it's 12 inch HDP
Okay.
is all it's required. It's only taking one basin. So 15 inches would be overkill, wouldn't be the end of the world, but we generally ask for that.
And he's looking for, it's gonna, what style pipe is it gonna be?
HDPE.
Okay.
So did we determine that it is shown the size of the pipe?
12 inches, yeah. It's on the
On the
profile.
profile?
Yeah, it's on the profile.
Again, I was dealing with the 8.5 by 12 inch, 8.5 by 11 inch drawing.
That's okay.
That's
Pretty
a
color
tough one.
Yeah.
That's
At
a
the
tough
house, but it
Yeah.
gets challenging.
Yeah, no, you're not going to see that unless you have your magnifying glass.
Magnifying glasses, I get very disoriented very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Good. Does the board have any other questions? Do we have people from, people in the room, I'm sure, who would like to also speak to this?
do you want to do the questions?
Huh?
How do you want to do that? Go around the table? Or?
I'm happy to go around the table. Thank you, Cal, I think you covered.
Okay,
You covered what you want to cover?
I did.
Okay.
I believe so.
Anybody?
Oh, we're waiting for you.
We're ready, we're all ready.
Wait for me. Okay, in the stormwater calculations, stormwater report, management report. You have a typo. Look at page 2 or 3, if you would.
You're talking to the right guy.
And you've got there's a paragraph there that says under the post-development scenario, and it talks about, the sub-catch basement, catchments. And it says those sub-catchments, which are SC 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, outline runoff from undisturbed portions of the site. And then the next sentence doesn't really add up, contribute flows, but I believe it's the disturbed portions of the site, not the undisturbed portions of the site.
I'll have to check that, we'll make a revision, yes.
Yeah, so we should clean that up, I think. The rest of it was pretty straightforward and easy to understand. I did have a question though, Cal, you said that there was deep test pits done out there?
Yeah.
Are they shown, they weren't shown on the drawings?
No, they weren't. We're gonna add those. Yeah, they got left off, so they're gonna get on. And HUD actually has the soil test logs here today.
So we're gonna expect to see those on the existing conditions?
Yeah.
First plan?
Yep.
C21? And on the same kind of topic, if the groundwater table is that high, which we now can maintain that it is, are you gonna show test pits down the full length of the paved roadway so that we can ascertain whether we think there's suitable material and how deep that cut, if you have to make a cut, would be to, if you hit groundwater during construction, and if you're gonna de-water or any other construction system method that you might need to handle?
Well, I'm quite sure we'll be doing some dewatering to put that sewer line in, sure. And we'll have it, and we'll give them a temporary, pump out spot.
There's no dewatering site on the plan.
So I think we should see a dewatering plan of some sort and an explanation of how we can handle that effluent, or what we want to call, not effluent, the water or dewatering
Yeah.
on site. Do
Yep.
we need to create another retention area?
Well, we'd create some kind of temporary.
So we need to see that. I think that's pretty important, because every time you dig out here, you're going to create a potential of dewatering.
Yep. Yeah, we've actually had good luck on other sites using these water bags, which are like the size of this table, and they're about 3-4 feet high. You pump into them, and then they leach out.
All you gotta do is, if you remember, recall on Route 9 in Wellesley, there was a Catholic church that was closed, and their entire property became dewatering bags for a decade.
Really?
It's now being built upon, those bags are gone.
I hope so.
I'm working in a site in Hopkinton where there's a Connex box on the back that says groundwater management systems. And the developer's trying to figure out, how do we do the calculations? They made a mistake.
Oh, boy.
And the neighbors are happy it's there right now. So,
We want to discuss the sewer system and all. You didn't really give us any info on that design and whatnot, other than, respond to the comments
Sure.
DPW made. But I think we deserve
yeah.
to the 20, E1s and a small force main and all that stuff. Right? Did
Sure.
you guys consider a central, I don't know what the town requirement is, to be quite honest with you, but did you consider a main pump station at the lower end of the road and
Yeah, a lot of-
gravity to that?
A lot of towns in the area are getting away from the high maintenance pump stations and going for the low pressure sewer mains. Like Harvard did that in their whole center of town. They basically decided to go with a low pressure system. It takes some of the onus off
I'm going to ask you
of.
to back up 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay? I've managed thousands of E1 systems.
Thousands.
Yeah, thousands of them in residential.
You got
Okay,
it.
so I kind of know what an E1 grinder system is.
Yeah.
Could you just please, for everyone's information,
Yeah, right.
because this is a fairly common practice now, can you just talk about what the engineering of an E1 system is, just real quick?
So an E1 system is basically there's a pump that sits either right outside the house or in the basement, however it's designed. And that pump, there's a tank that fills up, and then that pump is programmed to, when it gets to a certain level, to spit out with a force main a slug of effluent that then goes out into the street, into the low pressure main that's running in the street. So the effluent sits in that line, basically, all the time. And whenever somebody causes their pump to go on, it pushes another slug out into the street, and then that pushes a slug downhill, and eventually it pushes it up to the sewer main, which is a gravity sewer main in the main street. So this system just pushes a little bit at a time under fairly low pressure up the street. It's not like a real high pressure pump station like you would have if you had it down at the end. But it also puts the onus more on the homeowners for pump maintenance and away from the town.
It becomes they have to come to an agreement. And ultimately what happens is a tank is installed somewhere either inside the house or outside the house. Levels go up and down in it. And given hydraulics, the pipe's almost always full. Most of our sewer pipes, we think about the big ceramic pipes that exist.
Gravity.
I'm sorry?
Gravity.
Gravity. Or HDPE
Yeah, so
or
they're
something
not
like
going to
that.
be full.
And they're never full.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you see a line in them, okay? And it goes through given gravity. If you drive down Oak Ridge Drive, there are pump stations. If you go to the dump, just as you get to a Washington and Groton Harbor come together, there's a pump station. The light is always on there. Usually a bad thing, but they can see that light from an important spot, so they rewired it. When that light goes off, that pump station's not working. I had to ask.
Yeah, sure.
But an E1 grinder system is exactly what it was. It's a grinder pump. It grinds up whatever goes into the system inside the house and pushes it through a pipe. You say at a low pressure. It doesn't have to be a lot to push the effluent uphill.
Right.
Okay? And that's why I asked about check valves or
Right.
shut-offs.
Right.
So, because
They're shown.
yeah, basically the houses are pumping uphill, whatever comes
Right.
into the bathrooms and the kitchen sinks.
Yep.
That's the nicest way I can say it on TV.
Yep.
okay?
That's the way it works.
And they are very common. E1 is,
Yeah, they're very well known.
they produce a lot of products.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for taking that,
Sure.
just for everyone's general benefit.
So if you have a slab on, you indicated they're all gonna be slab on grade.
Yeah.
So the sewer system is gonna go underneath that slab
Mhm.
on each house, right, out to the yard, to the E1. We don't see too much of that type of arrangement, but certainly the quality of the installation of that kind of work under someone's slab and the tightness. So it's gravity from the house to the E1, we know that.
Yeah.
Then from the E1 into the street. And
This pump, under
Excuse
pressure,
me?
yeah.
Yeah.
So from the E1, so
From the house-
gravity from the house to E1, then the E1 is pumped relatively low pressure, but moving it uphill.
Yeah.
it's moving into the street.
Yeah, well, you also-
Well, you may move horizontally into the street, and most likely you would move horizontally into the street. It wouldn't be uphill to the street
Right,
because you're about the same
horizontal,
level.
right.
But then when it hits the main, it's gonna displace whatever it pushes that horizontally is gonna displace that much in that full main. So up at the far end where it drops into the sewer line, you're gonna see that much volume go into the sewer line for as
Right.
much as this
Oh, I
pumps,
see.
and then it's
Okay.
gonna stop.
All right.
And then the next time another one kicks on, you're gonna see another slug go through.
And you basically have, if 20 homes exist, 20 pumps maintaining the system.
But each homeowner is responsible for their pump rather than
Yeah.
having a $100,000 pump station at the end of their
And
$150,000.
At 26 inches of groundwater, I start thinking about, as Ken just said, poorly installed E1 system becomes a nuisance. It is on slab, so basements won't get damaged, but the system will continuously run and go into a line.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be done in such a way that there's no infiltration. You don't want infiltration getting into your sewer system anyways, because then you're just overtaxing your sewer system for no reason. So that's gotta be done well, and then the actual E1 pump is gonna sit in a container that's waterproof.
I was surprised that DPW didn't have any response on that at all. We didn't hear from them. I think we should go back to them and ask them, or if it's Board of Health, DPW, whoever it might be,
I
to double check their
I-
comfort level.
I
with that.
had a conversation, I know, Mark and I had informally talked about it because I do manage them in other places. I have managed them in my professional career in other places. And, 254 of them in one spot. One I can think of in 2 years.
Right, do they have high water table, what you're talking about? This
Didn't know the information. That information I didn't have.
And the other question I have is, do you have any history, like, 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out from initial construction, about how they're performing?
Like every appliance you have, there's maintenance.
Sure.
Typically what happens is we grow up in a world where we hit the handle and forget.
That's right.
Right.
And
That's
that
what I always
is
think
an
about.
educational process for the homeowner.
But I guarantee you it's less expensive than going out and replacing your septic system.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not in the discussion because we have town schools.
All right, of course, but there's an awful lot of people that have that same
I don't want to
issue.
get I don't want to get derailed on this, but
Yeah.
I
that's
guess-
an important piece.
Yeah.
And it's also a pressurized sewer system, so it may or may not have impact. You know.
I think
We never know what gets to the other end. We know where it starts, but we don't know how much gets through.
I asked you to look at the grinder pump substation cuts that you put on the drawing, and add on there, if you believe it's necessary, and I believe it is, the ballast system that's required to hold these pumps.
Yeah, if it's underwater, it's gonna have to have
It
balance.
just
yeah.
says it's, maybe needed or something, but I'd like to clear that up and have you guys look at it.
Well, and to be clear, there's portions of the site where the groundwater is not right at 26 inches, but most of the site, it is at 26
But
inches, so.
I think you should look at those in particular, their location on each lot, and then assess whether they're gonna need to be ballasted for protection.
Okay.
I'm really concerned that we approve something and it's complicated. It's complicated at the basis because we're asking the homeowner to be involved with maintenance that they may not be familiar with. But more important, I want the thing to be established in the ground and then locked into where it is, and all the piping associated with it. So-
The cleanout that you show on your site utilities, that wasn't by request, you actually put that in.
Oh,
I'm
it's in
sorry,
there.
I'm sorry.
I believe there's a cleanout on the utility plan. I'm assuming that's for the E1 system.
Hut-
Yeah, the E1 has all
I
the
think so,
specs
yeah.
called for all that stuff.
It's probably manufacturer's spec.
Yeah.
It is,
And I think we did receive a report from the manufacturer about the one. They made some recommendation about putting in additional manhole
Yeah.
and flushing connection and stuff like that. So we can send that over before we make the revision.
And then nowhere in this system is it going to apex where it needs pressure relief of any sort? Okay. Live that dream too, sir.
You sound like you had a good time with these things.
Huh?
You sound like you had fun with these.
Yeah, no, if site layout and utilities plan, between lots 8 and 9, it shows the flushing connection manhole. Where did the DPW request additional manholes for the E1? Is it one per system or one connection?
I'd have to look, I'm not sure. Do you remember, Hut? No, this is his. Curb stops, provide design report, show the location of proposed lateral sewer kits and E1 grinder pump manholes. He just wanted to see the manholes.
Yeah, I don't, doesn't sound like they're asking for additionals, just want to see.
No, he just wanted to see the
Okay.
manholes.
I'd like to just go back to the stormwater. So am I gonna be the only one asking questions? I'll keep going, because I got a ways to go.
We're letting you go.
The stormwater calculations, you use the term clean, which I think some of us know is typically related to the roof systems and whatnot. Is there any calculation in there that, since there's so much driveway paving, it takes into consideration the impervious and the runoff from the driveways, it adds it to the street calculation, or yes?
Oh, sure.
So that's included.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good catch.
So all the paving that's,
Roofs too, any impervious surface.
well, no, the roofs,
Well,
right,
they're
by
clean,
definition.
but from a
so you don't
volume,
have to put them in the infiltration basin calculation.
That's
They're
why,
clean, but they're also technically impervious, so they count towards impervious.
from a volume standpoint, not from a water quality, but from a volume standpoint, and rate of runoff they count.
right, and that's why the wet basin to the east doesn't require the sedimentary pond in front of it, because it's runoff from the grass, it's not
Right.
runoff from the street that carries sediment, right?
That and the fact that from a regulatory standpoint, we're not taking credit for any, we're taking credit for volume and rate of runoff, we're not taking credit for water quality in that basin. because we've got it covered with the other ones. Although, you're exactly right, when it runs through the grass, that's probably the best cleaning you can do before you put it into the basin.
I have some thoughts on the waivers, but I'm not gonna bring them up right now, I'll just go
Okay.
through those later. But, can you go to that, can you put C, 4.1 up there? Because it is beginning to work up here. So, there's this kind of odd appearance down, as you go down, you've got these extremely wide driveways, 24 feet to the garage. Well, first of all, there's no sizing shows on the drawings of the garages, but
They're probably the biggest size house that will fit on that site, but there's no guarantee they're gonna build that house.
well, on the,
I mean, any developer that comes in is gonna put his own house plans on there, so we're just showing a building envelope more than anything.
okay, so the concept plan did show that some proposed, but you had to take that size into consideration for your drainage calculations if you said you
Yeah.
carried the roofs, of course.
Yeah.
So, what I'd like you to consider, first of all, on these two plans, especially this plan, actually, I'm gonna ask you to put it on this plan, is I want you to, instead of just using the table over here, okay, and I'll get to that in a minute, shouldn't you put the proposed elevation of the slabs and whatnot right on these units, so that you can see, like this number 9, it's got an 8-foot drop in the back corner here, and assess a little bit closely how the grading should match up here.
You know, we chose to do it with a table because then they can check and see exactly what it is. When you start cramming too much information on a small,
This room is-
relatively small plan like that, it becomes hard to read.
Okay, so, and the reason I'm saying that is that
Yeah, that's a walkout basement. That's to be a walkout.
you said it was a slab on grade, so I'm trying
Well,
to
that's
go.
true,
if you
yeah.
say-
It
if you
was
say
to
it's
be
a
a
slab
walk-
on grade, and I'm looking at the drawings, and
Yeah,
it tells
no,
me
you're
that
right.
the slab's at this elevation, and the grade's 8 feet below it. I'm trying to figure out in my head how this grading is attained, and is the retaining walls shown? There's no retaining walls.
Right.
There's a little
think-
dot here line that's got nothing on it. It's
Yeah, that's a good question.
very
Actually, I
weak.
think it was
It's very
originally,
weak, believe me.
it was originally a slab on grade.
So you need to address, to satisfy me at least, and I guess the rest of the planning board,
I'm listening to you, Ken.
Yeah.
I'm following you.
Yeah.
elevations of the slabs. And if you take a look at the table,
just
this
an
is
8-foot slab.
strictly a construction question, not a code question. You can think about it later. Some of these garage elevations are higher than the building elevations. So I don't know how that all works. Typically, in my experience with construction, you want to return from the garage slab to the house, a safety thing. It may not be a code thing, 5, 6, 8 inches,
Yeah, it's
something
gotta be the
without
way
step.
around. Yeah, you gotta have 4 to 6 inches.
So we're showing here, you can just pick a number, it doesn't matter which one it is.
3?
Some of them are exactly the same, 275 and 275, you know, some are a little bit higher. I think
6,
we
the
need-
dwelling was below, but not by much.
Yeah, but, okay, so I'm looking for a clarification so that we can understand how these buildings stick out of the ground so we can make sense of the grading. So this really tight grade here that's going down, like 6 feet, 276 to 270 along the back of the garage. And the garage on that one, number 8, is sitting at 273, so that's workable, it's only a 3-foot difference.
Yeah, you may well have some frost walls in the back there that have to,
Right, but this is like, this back corner of this building is hanging 8 feet out of the ground, so a slab on grade typically is, you know, like a 4-foot.
yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't build like that. I'm
We
sure
wanna
they'd
make sure that.
fill around the back
that
of it.
That there's a good, you know, grade difference between that makes sense. I can't get it, but
We do have room right back there, so when we do make the revision, we'll take a look at that. and then
Okay.
just go in.
that'd be very helpful. So get back to this drawing here, where we have the driveway widths where there's not a common driveway. It looks like we have a 24-foot driveway from the garage to the street.
11.
Excuse me?
Just lot 11, just a dead.
No, there's like five or six of them, a number. Right next to that, we have a common driveway with a very narrow width, which is, I'm guessing. But one of my questions is that I think we should be showing the width of the driveways that are here, and I think we should be showing construction details on the driveways. It's in sections. So because there's so many common driveways we're requesting, whether we approve them or not, I think we need to know more construction details on the driveway. Again, especially because of the high water table, you know, and how that's going to work, whether they're going to settle, what pitch they have, are they flat, whatever. It doesn't seem to be enough to make head.
I do want to mention that even if the water table was down about 26 inches, we are bringing the whole site out
Because
2 to 3
you're
feet.
filling, right, mostly you fill the whole thing. But it's still, a question, because you're going down so deep for the cover on the sewer systems and the water systems and just like that. So you're gonna be disturbing down there at the 4 or 5 level, whatever the case.
Yeah, but it may not necessarily be submerged.
Yeah, but when you put a machine out there and you're digging a trench, you're gonna hit water, no matter what happens. So I don't know, to me, I don't know if we have resolved that look, but I thought it might not look too great to go down and see a wide driveway than a narrow driveway. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Well, it's typically, if you've got a short distance to the garage of most houses, you'll see 2 cars parked
Right.
side by side, and there's not really room to neck that down and make them back up around the corner like that. So that's not all that unusual. It's just on the longer ones, you've got the opportunity just to have it be an access way, and then you see the wider driveways in front of the garages, so you can park 2 cars side by side in front of the garage.
And the turnout spaces, I believe, also.
Right.
I think one of the things that, and I know it's not in the requirements, and she'll be there someday soon, boy, but there's no landscape plan. You show the trees going down. It would be beneficial if there was more detail to the units showing maybe a proposed planning, maybe just one unit, a scheme on one unit that would show like, here's a proposed unit, here's a proposed landscape plan for one unit. So a walkway coming out of the unit going to the, out to the front or something. So we have a
Typically builders decide how they're gonna wanna landscape each individual house, and it's really
Well,
left to them with the
that's not
subdivision.
my experience is different than Cal's for some odd reason. I'm not sure.
Well, when you get into a site plan or something like that, then yeah, you're providing landscape plans, but I've never done a landscape plan for an entire
That's why I
site.
said, at least, I was thinking more in terms of not asking you for a landscape plan, but a proposed unit plan with landscaping shows at least an idea, we're considering these kinds of plants around each house, because we have no idea from this, it's just a total clear, with 6 or 7 trees put in. It doesn't really benefit, us in looking at it, I don't believe. I think a unit plan with one at least would give us an idea that an effort is being made to landscape it.
All right, we can do that.
Can I leap in with a question, Ken?
Excuse me?
Can I leap in with a question?
Yeah, sure.
I have to forgive my construction ignorance. So I'm directing this to the engineers in the room and the people experienced with this. So we have a high water table. Can't build basements. Front foot slab. Are there any concerns about consequences of settling in earth with the high water table, and you have these what seems like perhaps a delicate sewer system? Is that going to be an issue at all, or that's a non-issue? I'm asking.
No, I mean, I think-
generally, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand. First of all, we've got 2 feet to water, plus or minus.
Okay.
And we're probably raising the site 2 or 3 feet over on average. It drops off as you get to the backs of the houses, but in a lot of the site, because we're trying to get a smooth road grade,
Right.
and you got houses fairly close, so you're gonna grade up to the houses, so it
Right.
grades down to the road. So there's a fair amount of fill coming into the site. So when you say we couldn't do basements, well, we could do basements, but there's a price to be paid for putting a basement 2 or 3 feet into the groundwater, and that is a constant hassle with draining them. And basically the decision was made that from a marketing standpoint, people these days don't seem to care about basements that much. And that you save yourself a lot of grief and save them a lot of grief by designing a house that has all the utilities and storage on slab on grade, rather than trying to create a bathtub under your house that keeps the water out, basically. So it's not like everything we do is going to be underwater. But there will be some parts of it that are underwater. But the fact that it's underwater in and of itself doesn't cause settling. In fact, more often than not, when you dewater something, that'll cause settling at some level. But it really depends on what the in situ soil is like. If it's unconsolidated and a sandy soil that's got that's a lot of water, like you get at a beach or something like that, you might be apt to get more settling. But if you get something along a sea soil where it's a fairly compacted soil that's got some density to it the way this does, you're not imposing enough of a load
Okay.
in addition to what was there before to cause settling. And that's what you worry about. What you worry about is, am I going to put something on there that's going to be a lot more than it's seen before, that's going to cause something to settle? And basically we're not. I mean, even a house isn't, as long as you've got, I mean, most of these, you're looking for a couple of 1,000 pounds per square foot, or a couple TSF per square foot for bearing capacity, and you get that very easily around here. It's only if you get into like an organic material, if you get into the wetlands and you try to build something on that, you'll see right away it can't hold it. There's no way. But that's
Or when building a school or a larger building of some sort.
Yeah. There you worry about differential settlement, where you've got a big area, and over there you got a pocket of this, you got a pocket of that, over there it's different from this.
That's when you actually drive for bedrock underneath, and you may end up
Right.
having a 30-foot.
Yeah, so those kind of things, those are definitely geotechnical concerns, but in this case, what we're doing is small enough scale that no, it's
Because
not
I've
gonna be.
seen, the projects I've seen where there's been failure, you're right, was the school.
Typically the larger buildings, typically they're poured in sections. They're never monolithic pours, they can't be, it just doesn't exist.
Right.
Exactly.
Now we're seeing more, I don't know if you've worked with, but I've seen more and more precast coming in where they have less failure rate, and they're also planning at the joints, at the
Right.
joints.
At the joints, yeah.
And then they're dewatering, but dewatering, the penalty is electricity and the cost.
Yeah.
Or using the water source to dewater with, believe it or not, it can be done easily,
Sure.
but you pay for water twice. So do you have more questions, Ken?
Sorry.
That's why we're here.
That's right.
So we didn't really talk about, and I don't think DPW brought it up, but he made a kind of a comment about the snow storage, but let's say we built it with the island in the middle of the cul-de-sac, which I would prefer myself. Where does somebody who does plowing and whatnot, where do you intend to store snow here in the real world, if there's a snowstorm? Is there any provision, typically when we see a commercial job or a site plan of some sort, we look for snow storage, but this is so compact. Is there a practical way to handle it, or we look at that?
Well, I think when you look at this, this area, I mean, typically I've seen cul-de-sacs where snow's been plowed and they come around the cul-de-sac, and when they make that sharp turn around the cul-de-sac, that usually dumps most of the snow in a semicircle around the end of the cul-de-sac. So the people at the end tend to take more of the brunt of the plowing than the rest of the people.
So it just goes on their front of the property, it just goes right there,
It just sits along the curb line of the property, yeah. I mean, like, I'm on a straight street, you see a plow come by, he dumps snow in front of your road, but my mom used to live on the end of a cul-de-sac, and other people were shoveling a foot of snow, and I was shoveling 3 feet of snow out of her
It all
driveway.
comes
Because
downhill, right?
it dumps it off the plow, when you come around, there's nothing those guys can do about it,
And
So-
a creative plow driver can change that too, but
Yeah, if he's good and hasn't been up for 14 hours, I guess, yeah.
drives along the wrong side of the road, it happens, but yeah.
Yeah.
There are ways to move it away, but
Yeah. So, I mean, the center of that cul-de-sac could be used for snow storage, I guess. They came down that road and then just went into the middle and stopped there, and then plowed the rest of it, so they're not dumping the plow all the way around. And maybe if it's paved, that's easier to do than if it's landscaped. If you put low landscaping with a curb around it, you could probably, some junipers or something with a curb around it, you could probably still use it for that purpose. But that's really the only place to do it.
fantastic. You've got more?
Not right now.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
No, I was gonna say, can we open it to?
I would like to,
you?
that's
Yeah.
what I get to, it's moving on, and I'd like to ask if anybody from the audience has any questions for the proponent or comments. Yes, please.
I'm Rebecca Jones, I'm the owner of one of the abutting properties on Littleton Road. And I have a couple questions and concerns. First is that when I came down to view the plans, one of the variance requests I noticed was to eliminate the grassy strip between the sidewalk and the roadway. Is that still in play to eliminate that strip?
We weren't asking
We
to do
haven't
that,
talked,
were
we
we?
haven't talked about the waivers yet, so.
No, I don't think we're asking to eliminate the grass strip between them. no.
Okay.
This is the single sidewalk on the east side of the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure we're talking about anything,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simply because of concern with that has been granted in other projects in town. Pingree Hill is an example. And I just wanted it kept in mind that the ramification of that is that there's nowhere for placement of mailboxes except in the sidewalk. So
Even
somebody-
our director of the DPW has that on his mind.
Yes, because folks in Pingree Hill have to pay for new mailboxes every year. They get hit by plows, and it also prevents people from walking, holding the hand of a small child, pushing a
Pushing a
stroller.
stroller.
Anyone
Too small to
handicapped cannot traverse those sidewalks.
Well, now I have my answer.
I'm glad that you're not just a question.
So one of the things, I'm
I
sorry.
did say something about that, but you've convinced me that that's not a good idea.
Excuse me for a second. We don't see elevations up, so you're coming to us with a plan that will be marketed to a developer.
Yeah. Although the owner is a developer, they may choose to build it, they may find somebody who wants to buy it and build it.
I'll ask the tough questions, you get to answer them both,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so there's no mail kiosk on here.
There's no mail kiosk.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
My other concern, and I've got to go up here to do this because I can't read it from back there. Your wet basin, you said, was going to come down and come into here.
It actually discharges that way.
It does discharge that way. Because that's my question is, I didn't see, and maybe I missed it in reading the plans the other day, but I didn't see elevation notations about the basin area versus this area of the open space, wetlands.
Yeah, we'll show you on a
And
different plan. It's going
since
very
that
easy.
does go into my property, which is already saturated and frequently has standing water, I'm a little concerned.
Sure. So this is going to discharge this way, but then the contours all run this way. So it'll discharge out here, it'll run down the slope and probably hit the wetlands somewhere around here. But this one, discharge here, will discharge this way and go its way around to the wetlands. But again, the test that we've got to fulfill and what we do with the drainage report is this is our analysis point right along this line.
Right.
And we have to make sure that the amount of water and the rate of runoff to that is the same as it is now today.
Okay.
So I'm not telling you it's going to be any better, because I don't think it will be.
No, and that's fine.
But it can't be any worse because of what we do. That's the test that we've got to meet with the stormwater.
My question then is should the calculations, the tests be incorrect and it does increase, what steps and who will be responsible for them will be taken to remedy that?
Well, it's not something that is going to have to be remedied because it's not going to be incorrect. But
The steps
Answering the question.
Yeah.
taken are
Did we answer that
as
question?
Yes.
He just gave it to me, so it's mine. It's the one I have. And it was real bad.
so, I mean, we've got to follow, there's a whole methodology that we need to follow that this requires of us. And it's been determined based upon people a lot smarter than me for a long time. There's computer programs that the Department of Agriculture came up with, TR55 and TR20, that all the calculations that are done are based on, that have been used for 50 or 60 years now. So they've got it refined pretty well to how these things work. And we have to take into account the type of soil that we've got, the type of ground cover that we've got, the slopes of the ground. I mean, it's a very complex model that we build using software packages that we designed specifically to do exactly that. That take this into account, and then we've got in-house review processes, and then our engineer does his final review, and the professional engineer puts his stamp on it, and then we give it to these guys, and they do a review sometimes. They have a peer reviewer come in and look at it. So it's all based on pretty well accepted methodologies, and it's very hard. I mean, if you came to me 5 years from now and said, I've got more water in my yard than I used to have, it'd be very hard for me to say that's because this basin isn't working right, or because this basin isn't working right, or maybe it's just because the rainfall is different than it used to be. And we're getting more rain, or we're getting in different patterns, and it's, or maybe there's somebody up here who's done something that's putting more water into the wetlands, which happens a lot too. So it's not a black and white, yeah, you're clearly gonna see a difference. I mean, I honestly don't believe you're gonna see any significant difference based upon this, just because we've got an awful lot of storage in here. When it rains, we're holding water here, and we're holding water here, and it's released slowly over a period of time.
But that all depends upon how much rain and how much snow we get. That's gonna.
Sure, it always
Right,
It always does.
and understand where I'm coming from as somebody who's currently paying to have a lot of work done because our previous heavy rainfalls the last few years in the spring, and the Mass DOT plans have said, oh, that's not a problem, it's draining and flowing north. And the elevation causes it to spread out as it goes north, and we were flooded. And I'm stuck paying to deal with the damage to my property and my home. So, I'm like, well, I'm kind of concerned.
Can I understand your sensitivity to it? The only thing I can tell you is that you're using very accepted methodologies that have been used for a long time. And we've done a lot of subdivisions, and we don't generally, in fact, I can't think of one where people have come back and said, we've got way more water than we're supposed to have.
I'm still in the room.
Sorry?
I'm still in the room, guys.
Yeah.
I am a little, I am
the chair.
I am a little bit, you know, but I'm still in the room, okay?
Okay,
So,
all right, well, then I guess I don't really have any option except to place my trust in your plans.
And our methodologies, and
I will also interject, if I may, that the calculations that they submit to the town from the DPW are looked through by the town.
I know Mark is
Mark's
on
staff,
top
Mark
of
and
this as
staff,
much as he
yeah.
can be.
and he's got the town engineer
And
himself.
Dan,
is a PE as
Dan
well.
does a pretty good
Dan,
job.
yeah. So they're both looking at it.
And I wish I could tell you that the future will be the same as the past, and, you know, there's a whole part of this country right now that's underwater because of
Right.
changing in patterns.
Oh, I agree with that, but,
Okay.
you know, it's just, when you're sitting there and going,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're writing big checks to people
Yeah.
and going
No, I
through
hear that.
CONSCOM and so
Appreciate that.
forth for this.
Thank
I
you.
don't want to do it again.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, can I, yes, and who are you, please?
What's that?
And who are you,
I'm
please?
Ruth Cronin, I live on Snake Hill.
Okay.
So my house is behind Becky's,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you, it's a lake.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, it's gonna be.
Oh, it is a wetland, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
it's
it's
a
like a
wetland
lake.
that's, at this time of year, yeah.
So is that,
Is that a retention pond?
the one that looks like a heart?
Yeah.
So my land is on some of that.
I think, is this your land right here?
Nope.
I have the
Ruth's property comes down along the side of mine. She actually owns the marsh.
This is
Right
it,
there.
all here.
So I just got the plot.
This is all, yeah, this is all in the parcel that we're dealing with.
Let me show
Right
you.
there.
This is you right there, yeah, that's right there. This is you right there.
Yeah, but we own back down here.
This is me right here.
You don't, you own it here, your house is up here, you probably own that down here.
No.
You don't own that.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so,
So
Yeah,
here's my
wait a minute.
plot right here. It's right off the river.
Oh,
Two
see
A.
that line right there? This is
This
line
line,
here.
right.
So you're on the other side of this property.
So where am I over here? So
On
I'm
this
right
side.
here.
So at this corner, it's this corner right here.
Where's your house?
Go all the way down to that
Right
wetland.
here.
Your house is right there, so your house is up here.
Okay. I'm just telling you, this,
I'm sure you back up the wetlands, and the wetlands may come onto
It's
your
a lake.
property. I don't know.
you could swim in it.
We just had it
You
today.
really could. I can't believe that they're gonna build.
We're
it
down
right
into the
here.
wetland.
I feel bad for
You know what that
these people
stone
that
wall
buy
is?
these houses. It is,
Yeah.
it's a lake, you can swim in. See the ducks in it.
What?
I don't
It is-
know.
it is
I
shown as a
don't
wetland, so-
agree with this whole thing. It's bad.
I'm afraid of this one. Yes, please.
From Lonnie Phillips in Oak Ridge Drive. So I have a question, Cal. Is Massachusetts actually currently recalculating some of the stormwater, numbers based on, because you said
They're
that,
talking about it, there's a lot of different.
yeah, so I think
places
it's,
that
I think
talk
it's
about it.
coming up because, the reason why I'm saying this is you said, so what you're using is old data from 50 to 60 years ago. So what currently moving into the future, there
Yeah, I don't
have been
think it's
multiple.
that, but it's 6.5 inches is
No,
the
I know,
height
but-
you're scoring right now.
But right
Excuse me.
now, calculations
Through the
moving into
chair.
the future
Yes.
Yeah.
with current rainfall in the New England area. I mean, Jeff just said, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening in the Midwest, but in the New England area, it is changing. And the prediction moving forward, 50 to 100 years moving forward, is going to be more rainfall, wetter seasons, more water. So my question to you is, you know, taking these potential new calculations moving forward, you know, maybe recalculate using those new numbers, and just seeing what you come up with.
Well,
I
the
think
new
we
numbers
need to
haven't been
take
determined.
You can project, you can project based on.
Excuse me,
these numbers.
excuse me.
Through the chairman.
It's just a question.
I am in the room, please. I'm fairly, so, for a matter of decorum, we can accumulate, we want to accomplish something, and I do appreciate that this can be a very emotional piece. And I want to make sure that we keep the two separate. Thank you. Other folks, yeah. Rebecca,
Two
sorry.
quick things.
Yep.
Number one, I forgot to mention, when you discussed earlier, request about a traffic study.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold me to this, but I believe Gage did one last year for that section.
Yes, they did.
So that
Thank you.
might be useful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And number two, with the discussions we've had just the last few minutes, is there any thought to the possibility of having an unbiased consultant review the plans and give feedback?
I'm sorry?
I'd say absolutely, there's consideration for that.
Yes, we
haven't
did.
talked about it yet, that's all.
We haven't gotten there yet in the process. So again, so the way the process goes, and I think Calvin and the proponent understand, we're opening a hearing. 90 days?
Yep.
From the date that we deemed it complete, which is, what, 2 weeks ago?
So we're about,
Yeah.
so let's plus or minus 14 days into a 90-day process right now. I'm really encouraged to see people in the room.
Yes.
It can be a frustrating process. It takes time. Mr. Archambault has done his quick look through of it. The Conservation Commission has submitted their views. The other departments have submitted their views on it. This is the process now where neighbors get a chance to submit their views too, okay? The Gage, this actually came up in a conversation the other day, and I'm not sure if Gage was required to do a traffic study or not, but we're gonna look into it. I know it was part of the conversation.
He
But
mentioned to me that he had to do one.
We'll have to look at that and see if it's,
I'll look into that.
we'll see if it's for its applicability. For those you who don't know, Bonnie Tillotson of Oak Ridge Drive and I share an address. We've been together for a long time, and I'm going to take a chance now. Whether or not the numbers that we use for calculating water runoff, we use what's an established baseline methodology that's currently in use. I can't tell, it's not the purview of the planning board to say, predict. It would be nice if they took that into account. But we've got to go with what engineers are doing today. There's also other things that will impact wetlands, other projects in other places. The good news is we're not on a town line here. We don't have another town doing stuff to us. We have an industrial use of land behind us on the other side of the fence. I don't know if anybody's looked at that. Something I'm thinking about is looking at that. There may have been heating in their parking lots. I don't know or they may be storing more things that are impervious on their property. If you're seeing changes in groundwater runoff, it's also important to look for the sources. Whether or not this will win, I don't know. We got to go with, unfortunately, things on the paper. I mean, I haven't looked through the calculations, but I've got to assume that those basins that are on there have to hold a 25-year storm a 25-year storm event, which we see more frequently than we used to, it seems, in gallonage from the impervious surface that they're creating through the sidewalks, the
Yeah, it's 100.
That's 100 years.
It's 100-year for those? Okay, I know you're talking, okay. I think we've seen 200-year events in the last decade, but,
We changed
Yeah.
the rates.
yeah. But anyway, so the best practices are being taken. And I do appreciate water on properties. 30 years of property management, I've dealt with it a lot, it's unfortunate. Do anyone else in the room have, yes, Ms. Gugino?
Oh, Jessica Gino, Mountain View Avenue Conservation Commission. I would just say though, when asking for a waiver on, say, pipe drain minimum diameter, given, maybe we don't have new numbers yet on storm events and climate change, but given that we all know there are increasing storms and storm amounts, I would, my suggestion would be not to grant a waiver for smaller pipes that would, I would keep to the maximum pipe you can ask for.
This is the 12 to 15-inch HDP
Well, yeah,
pipe we were talking about earlier.
minimum diameter 15-inch pipe.
Mhm.
I wouldn't really go less than that because I think our 25-year storm events are getting bigger.
Mhm.
So that would be, and I'd also actually consider taking into account whether you want to grant a waiver on trees on both sides of the road, because the presence of trees does also help.
Retard.
So, yeah.
Yeah, retard drain.
Given those, that, you don't have to grant waivers.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask the board if they wanted to get into the discussion of the waivers tonight, or do it when we continue the meeting. And I don't know if Mark wants us to talk about the waivers.
We actually have, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I indicated at the beginning, Mark Wetzel, DPW Superintendent, hasn't weighed in on these specifically. So we could either, those that you feel comfortable with and confident enough, we could take some of the waivers tonight, or we could do them all at once at the next meeting.
I have a personal, and maybe I can be the chair and swing my gavel once. We've been working on this for quite some time. We do have some more business we want to transact this evening. And I think we do want to get Mr. Wetzel's input. Is there any other comment from the room? Yes, excuse me, in the back.
Just the overall comment, and maybe the board can or Cal can, that are, the concept of open space.
May I ask you who you are?
Sorry, yeah. Michael de Blasio from 60 Littleton Road.
Thank you.
The concept of an open space development is to conserve open space, correct?
Yes,
And if
I think so.
I know there's a whole bylaw change about wetland that can't count towards the open space, correct? So I mean, this is my opinion, that this is just a blatant disregard for an open space concept, and to pack in as many houses to get through the normal bylaws of 100-foot frontage or 25-foot setbacks. These houses are getting packed in pretty tightly. That's my opinion, and I just wanted to bring it forward. As for some of the waivers, I see it all the time with 40-foot roadways. They're too tight. I see it up on the Nashville Street extension. People are driving on the sidewalks because they can't get through. People park on the roads. I don't know what that road was actually granted for a roadway with, but along with fire trucks, with common driveways, there's going to be people parking on roads. There's going to be people parking on the street. Fire trucks are not going to be able to get down that road if there's one car parked on that street. So that's something either the police need to take into consideration to control, or as to drive home the water issue in the area. My pump doesn't flow as much as everyone else's, but I know that my two other neighbors, they flow constantly, and they have basements, so that's their problem. But it's just to drive home that issue of water in the area. You had said earlier something about a 7-month. It was in the very beginning, about 7 months from the preliminary.
Yeah. So the proponent came before the board. You can give me the date, I don't know off the top of my head.
I remember that.
And there was a preliminary subdivision plan brought to us, which is in some ways, looks a lot like this. He started the process. The Conservation Commission did a walk. I actually joined them as a walk on the property. We do a site walk with the town planner and stuff. And when the preliminary subdivision was accepted, they have 7 months to come back to us without restarting the process. It's kind of the easiest way to say it, if I may.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mark.
And also,
Yes.
I was going to add too, as far as at the October 2018 town meeting, we did place a limit on the amount of wetlands that could count towards the 50% open space, but they submitted their plan prior to that vote, so they do not have to comply with that.
Yeah, I understand that.
An hour.
And I wanted to just address the first part, and Mr. de Blasio's question about, wait, there seems to be a contradiction here that with open space that's dense, but the whole idea of the open space residential, what would be development, as opposed to a standard subdivision, is that you allow for greater density in the portion where the houses are precisely to be able to get a large open space in the overall lot, and that's the trade-off.
So I understand the town meeting vote, and I understand the wetland vote, but that's federal protected land anyways. So they wouldn't be able to build on it regardless of the
Well,
open
you could,
space.
yeah, you can't build in the wetland per se, and right now, the town operates under the State Wetland Protection Act, since we
Yeah.
don't have a local
Or
bylaw
state,
at
right.
this time, so the Conservation Commission will be involved, certainly.
Right.
Yeah.
We actually have a hearing Thursday night with Conservation.
Yep.
If you've got nothing to do Thursday night at 7 p.m., by all means.
Thank you.
So you changed the name on me. The John Carroll Reserve will be here Thursday night. Any other feedback from? Okay. We got some work to do, quite obviously. I am interested to have a conversation with the DPW and find out where they stand on all these things.
We'll get their definitive opinion on the.
Yes,
wetland.
I'm sorry, Mr. Diskin has one more.
Just one more. Yeah, we never received any comments from the building commissioner, who's also our zoning enforcement officer, about this as well.
Yeah, that's
So we have-
correct. He
yeah,
did
we
receive the
don't have
plans,
his
but we did
comments at
not
all.
get his comments. Yeah.
Let's just go down the checklist and make sure all departments have
I will ask,
weighed in place.
I'll ask Charlie.
Thanks.
Tennyson, yeah, that's right.
Fantastic.
Well, he just moved, he's been busy, he just moved, we just did a whole rearrangement of offices within his buildings, and, but I will make sure that he gets us his comments for the next meeting.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Cal, at this point?
Not at this point.
I appreciate you taking us through it. At this point, if there's nothing else on this order of business, I can't think of the word. Make a motion to continue. Continue wasn't coming to mind. And I got to sleep late this morning. We didn't start till sunup. So entertain a motion to continue the hearing for John Carroll.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing for the proposed definitive subdivision of 54 and 56 Linton Road.
Second.
To the next
Until
planning.
the next scheduled planning board meeting.
Next scheduled planning board meeting on June 25th.
Yeah, to the volunteer
Thank you.
agenda. Do that on purpose.
Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Thank you very much. Next
very
order of
much.
business.
Thank you.
We're gonna have to do this for next meeting.
Mark, on the agenda, the next order of business, discussion of the draft subdivision regulations.
Right.
Did you want to touch the high points with us?
Basically, Mr. Wetzel is at a conference.
Why don't we get ourselves in order, please?
Yes.
Hi.
You look happier this evening.
I'm working on it.
Good. Thank you for
I ate a
coming.
meal tonight.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Okay, draft subdivision, draft subdivision regulations.
Yes, I'm not sure if anyone has had a chance to peruse them since the last meeting, but I think we should act on those fairly quickly. DPW superintendent needs to review those and get his comments, even though we work with Dan, the engineer, on those. I think, since the superintendent will be issuing most of the comments to the planning board on subdivisions, we need his oversight on the
Okay.
subdivision regs. But one thing I'll mention too is that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting is I will be drafting the procedure for the conservation analysis review that will be part of those subdivision regulations, and I believe we can handle those prior to accepting the whole set of subdivision regs, since we're going to have these subdivisions coming in. So I'd like to schedule that for the first meeting in July, where we have a public hearing.
Please do.
Those are just regulations and procedures, so
They're just regulations.
they don't need to have the 14 days, so you're fine.
Okay. So
I will need that
I will
language
get those to the
later.
board for the next meeting.
Thank you.
It's a draft that we can discuss. And,
How are we gonna change the denominator in A2?
that's another thing I wanted to discuss, is I would like to form a little subgroup, just as we did for the subdivision regulations, where we discuss amendments to the OSRD section of the bylaw, so that we either change the formula somehow, or we think about doing the old way of, you have a yield plan, 2 sets of plans. You do a yield plan, which is not fully engineered, but you count the number of units by this plan, and you translate that to the OSRD plan. I think that's the only way we're going to get a more realistic number of lots. It's more in line with what you get in a conventional subdivision. And that will also leave room for applicants to ask for density bonuses, or bonuses for, affordable housing. They would have to give us something, a perk, in order to get those extra units. Whereas right now, they're getting as many units as they can just with the formula, and there's no room for affordable units.
So,
But I believe, we need to amend that bylaw, and, I think the goal should be amending the bylaw at the October 2019 special town meeting.
we've had some good luck with bylaws lately.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't ride that horse a little further,
Yes.
please.
Yes. I think the town would support us, and we can, get some...
Let us know what you need, because I think the support is there.
Right.
Was this related to the conversation of reaching out to Judy Barrett?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll just see how-
Two parts to it.
Thanks.
Right, and she, she did reply to my first email, and she told me that when she worked with the prior planning board on this is before I even came on,
Yeah.
the prior planning board was working on the bylaw. She said that it was intentional that the formula was developed as it was in order to provide more housing in the A2 district, that the planning board had that desire to do that. So they were not, they were in favor of actually having a somewhat higher density. However, I think somewhat higher density is okay, but I think what we're seeing now is a little bit excessive. And
We're actually seeing what's going on everywhere inside of 190 now, across all communities.
Yeah.
There's a large need for housing. There's a large need for professionals to have housing.
Right.
We have a boom economic area.
Yes. I think, and I concur too. I believe, we need more housing, but I think we need to downscale it just slightly, and that would give us, as I mentioned, room for the affordable housing to be a bonus type of unit that would encourage more affordability. So we might see a subdivision that is somewhat in between where you could get with a grid subdivision and what we're seeing now with the formula, which I believe is resulting in
Without being a local initiative. Without being a local initiative.
Correct. Yes.
Anything else on your update?
No, except, the marijuana bylaw passed last night, so that was pleasing. And for that, I will need to develop some administrative procedures that will go into site plan regulations, as far as the timing of applications and
Can
and
I
that sort of
back
thing.
up a moment?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm a little slow here. The density thing.
Right.
What I'm confused about, don't we want more density? Why wouldn't density be desirable? What am I missing here? I'm sorry.
If I may.
Yes, please, help me out.
density, higher density living is more desirable than acre zoning.
Yes.
There's a couple reasons for that. Mostly, town services will never be paid for
Right.
by acre zoning. Acre zoning also doesn't, open space in acre zoning becomes bluegrass, bent grass, things like that, which are less desirable than the natural resources we have.
Right.
Right.
Open space, OSRD is designed or is intended to maintain the resource as it stands.
Right.
And allow for housing on it.
Right.
Okay. We are in a situation here where most of our developable land sits in or on the buffer of wetlands.
Right.
So we're seeing highly clustered housing. We're seeing what it's intended to do.
Right.
The denominator, the denominator, now I came in at the end of the last bylaw review, never thought about it this way, honestly. Shame on me. But we did have a planning board who was looking for it. And if you were to look at the players sitting around the table, I now know why. Higher density. So we have to correct it.
But what I'm saying is, I'm still confused. Don't be wrong.
I would argue, yes, some degree of higher density is good.
Yeah, what's the
And
challenge?
compact. The problem is, if you get too high of a density, you end up crowding things. It's more difficult to do flexible design where you you might,
There's no actual access to the open space?
right, there's such a thing, there's such a thing as too high
I'm trying to think
density.
of the answers, because I know.
It's a balance thing, and I think when you have slightly less density, you have a little more flexibility with lot sizes and perhaps even the amount of open space. Where the number is yielding a higher number of units, a much higher or twice the number of units you could get in a conventional, your design options are constrained. Because you're taking up much more land. Even though you have denser units, you might be taking up more land with the housing area.
The footprint is taking up more of the actual physical land.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
because of that,
Right.
because of the density issue. Okay, I'm
Yes.
following this so far, good, okay.
Right.
And then that has a ripple cascading effect on consequences on design from there out that can be complicated, is that?
Right,
am I
yeah,
following this so far?
with stormwater
No?
basins
I
and
got it
all
wrong?
these other things.
Ken, wait, I gotta ask you, what am I missing here? If I'm being an idiot,
I think
tell
that
me.
part of the discussion that's being left out is that in terms of density, there's a bunch of different ways you can look at it.
Right.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, I'm so disappointed in this OSRD process because in my mind, when I thought of it originally, I thought the density meant, you know what, we could have 3 6-unit townhouses near the front of the project and save all the open space in the back. Therefore, the guy gets the unit count, but we cut down on the paving, we cut down on the road, we cut down on the water and sewer,
Right.
and we maintain
That's exactly where I was going to next.
So the problem that I see with it is based on, the key word to me is undisturbed. We need to somehow get the word undisturbed into open space, definition of open space.
And we may also need
And
to,
then the density count works fine if you end up with townhouse development.
See, that's the thing
or a high-rise,
I'm
or
interested
something
in,
like that.
is right.
And you conserve the open space.
we
So
may need
when I
to
Can we move
incentivize
beyond single-family
non-units,
units, or we
actually.
can't? We can't, because, just tell me what, 'cause I'm gonna.
In our
this is
in the
funny.
current regulation, it states that it goes by what's allowed and used in A1 and A2,
Okay.
only allows for single family.
I got it.
well, you
That's-
can do
General
duplexes
residential
with a
allows for
special
other.
permit.
Yeah, we can resolve it.
Right.
And it can be
Yeah.
resolved
Right.
just simply. It's
Okay.
when you read it as GPR does, they read it black and white. They don't look for anything in between the lines. And when you
Okay.
read it black and white, it doesn't say that you can do
Because
that.
what I'm trying to, I know we all want to go home, but when I'm thinking through, wrapping through my head is,
Most engineers are black and white.
you know, when I look at the master plan, when I look at things that we hold as objectives, and one of them, many of those objectives cannot be achieved unless we have greater density, right? We've seen this comment as
And-
great density.
in the right
and-
place.
It's in the right place, right?
And
The transit.
But,
to let you know the secret, there are more people who need a place to live.
exactly.
Okay.
And there's a greater need, right? And part of it seems to me like what the wall we're running up against is limitations of single-family units. I mean, really make things much more difficult, because the logical thing to go is, wait a minute, we can resolve so much of this. We go, wait a minute. If we rethought about how these lots are used, and we thought about, well, if there's multiple, like a duplex, whatever, multiple
Right.
units, and some of
Yes.
these, and then a mixture of housing types, we could have very attractive, both aesthetically and other aspects, very attractive designs that meet many needs and have the density without running into somebody's
Yeah.
Michigas that,
Right.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. I just want to understand what the
Yeah, I
issues are.
agree. I
and
mean,
think through it.
there is a potential to have, multifamily and certainly duplexes in some of these. To do duplexes in this development, they would need a special permit, but I would support
I
that.
see that.
We can, it would involve a redesign, and I know, redesign costs them money to,
And a special
so-
permit costs extra money.
And
so,
it's a complicated, lengthy process.
But we can look
It's-
at it. I think OSRD is a superior way of doing subdivisions. I
Right.
believe, we just need to tweak it to get it to where we want it. Like I say, some higher density is good, but if it's excessive, it will turn people off from the whole concept of doing open space subdivisions
Right.
potentially.
That's fair.
And that's something we also have to consider. And,
There are some really good open space subdivisions out there.
I'm sure there are. I'm confident there are.
Yeah, I mean,
With public parking and trails
Right.
and all through the open space.
Yep. It's because the underlying lot size, as they were saying, the denominator, when you subtract the wetlands and the steep slopes and the roads and all that stuff, you get a certain number of square
That's right.
feet or acres. You divide that by 12,000 square feet and you get this number.
Right.
And now that number is resulting, because it's just purely numerical, it's not taking into account all the factors that you would need to take into
Topography,
account
everything.
in designing a conventional plan where you have 100 feet of frontage
Mhm.
and 1 acre lot or whatever. And so the old way these plans were done was, that's called a yield plan. You do a
Right.
conventional plan that has to meet the underlying zoning of frontage, lot size and all that. And that will give you a certain number. And in towns with septic systems, you have to prove that you could perk those lots.
Yes.
Now, in most of our town, you don't have that problem because we have water and sewer. But
Right.
that way of doing it gives you a yield. Say the yield is 12 lots.
Okay.
So you say we figured out with the yield plan, you can get 12 lots. We will allow you to do an OSRD with a base number of 12. Now, if you want more, they have to be affordable housing, or you give us a little bit extra open space.
Okay.
And you
Okay.
want the developers, the applicants, to be a little bit hungry for those extra units.
I see
So
what
they
you're
have to give us a public benefit, either in the terms of
Yes.
affordable housing, or more open
Okay.
space, or whatever it is.
Thank you.
And,
That's the part I was missing.
right.
Okay.
And so by allowing so much, so many units up front, there's no physical space to get those extra units.
Well, we have no negotiating
Right, there's
power.
no, exactly,
nothing.
we have no negotiating power if the
Absolutely.
formula is too generous.
What's that?
We certainly do have power for anything.
Well, but I think that
that's-
Mark's point is that if we're clearer on the density requirements, what we avoid is this 14 to 20 jump, and instead we were in a position to say, well, if you want that increase, we want to see affordable units.
Right.
Is
Yes.
that where you're getting at?
Right, yes,
All right.
yes,
Okay.
right. Because there's plenty of market rate housing out there, and then there's a.
Just the
Which
market
no one
rate
can-
cost.
It's called market rate, but no one can afford it, which I
Right.
think is
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you have to be rich.
Right.
Or
So
never
market
go
rate,
wrong.
but
Right.
no one can buy it. Right. Brilliant.
Right,
Okay, I got
so,
it.
right. So, I think,
Okay.
we can come up with a
So
solution that will,
And if I recall, you had an idea that we should have a committee to discuss some of these issues.
Right.
Also,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I already raised my hand to say I'd be willing to do that.
right,
Okay.
yeah, so that we can, look at this, and I don't think it will take a lot of work, I think either we go the yield plan approach, or we tweak the formula, which will take some creative thinking with mathematics, but, I think we can do this. And,
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that clarity.
One of the things about planning is it often changes,
It has to. Right.
and it's
yes.
often reactive.
Yeah, and I think the bylaw that Judy Barrett put together is much superior than what we had. But she came at this with more of a housing perspective, since she's a housing expert.
Right.
So, we have to look at all of the issues, not just housing. We have to
Right.
look at the environmental,
Yeah.
everything else. And
We
so,
started with the premise that we weren't going to change any of the dimensional requirements. When we
Yeah.
did the zoning bylaw change, we started with that premise. We weren't going to change on any of the dimensional requirements.
Yes.
Because we didn't want to go down that road.
right, because
So by keeping that in, we ended up with that 12,000 denominator.
Yes.
And
Oh, I
first-
see.
Right, yeah, very few
We
towns
could have gone in
around
and
here
said, you know,
have
well,
lot
A2 is gonna
sizes.
be 30,000 square
Right,
feet.
as small
We
as
wouldn't
we
have passed
have.
the
Yeah,
bylaw.
most
wouldn't
towns
have-
have 2 acre zoning.
Yeah, we would have
Right.
undone.
2 acres?
Oh, yeah,
Littleton, Lancaster,
That's
2 acre zoning.
insane.
Well, I know, that's
Every
One
town
zoning
I
district,
worked in-
country living.
Hold on.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry,
it's
Chair,
free
you
for
take
all.
control of
No,
this.
it's quite right.
Who's the chair? Can I make another?
Let's not call our neighboring towns insane on TV.
No,
Great time.
I'm sorry, it was just shocking news to hear 2 acres.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's.
Because
Because we're new and we're learning about other communities, because we're
But
still
that was-
learning about
Our
our
previous
community.
2 towns I worked for.
Well,
had
then
2 acre
again,
zoning.
you know, most of these other towns are on septic and wells, so you have to get the
Yes.
septic
Oh, I
system
see.
and the well.
Okay.
We're fortunate that
reserve.
most of our area is sewered and water.
And your reserve.
I'm sorry?
Okay,
I
well,
think, I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it's
no, and
Yeah.
we have excess capacity.
because of Devon.
Not only by design of our plant, but because of, we have capacity at Devon's. So the blessing is we have sewer,
yeah, thank goodness.
but unfortunately it's a double-edged sword in this
Right.
case.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna stop this because I do wanna move
Yeah,
on.
no,
to
you
dinner.
have to.
So debrief from town meeting. Are you done with your draft discussion regulations?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
There was, he
Go ahead.
he neglected to mention one important thing that we were reaching out to Jody Barrett, our town
thank you.
council for.
Mhm.
And that's extremely important based on a comment that I heard tonight. And that is whether the proposed OSD that involves one or more common driveways requires a special permit. We brought that up at the
Oh.
last meeting,
Right.
and we were supposed to delve into that. Because of the language in that one sentence. If the proposed OSID also involves one or more common driveways, density bonuses, transfer of development rights, or any other use that requires a special permit. The proceedings for all special permits and site plan review and lot configuration, so forth. So the real question was, do we, and further on common driveways, you know, just follow up a little bit on your statement about we might be out of control. We need to approve common driveways. They're not automatically approved. The planning board has to approve them.
Mhm.
We have language all about that. So there's no, you know, guarantee that a common driveway is, it's not by right. It has to be approved by us. The description of the common driveways that typically was thought of and talked about in the past was a common driveway that was in a typical subdivision, not in an OSRD. Typical subdivision meaning you had 100 feet or more, you had plenty of distance on the road.
Right,
You wanted to conserve the number of curb cuts on that main street.
right.
So and conserve the forestry or whatever the old was between the street and the new 3 houses, up to 3. And that's how a common driveway is normally thought of. Totally different as it applies here. It's basically been used to, I can't talk about it right now, this particular, needs to be reviewed.
Right.
Common driveways, we do have authority in common driveways, is what I'm getting at. And we do have authority in the preservation of the land too. And I'll read the sentence. The planning board shall deny any application that does not include sufficient information to make conservation findings or that does not preserve land that the planning board determines should be preserved from development as a result of the conservation analysis and findings. So there's plenty of language in here to
Okay.
understand what we're doing here and what we're not doing. And we need to concentrate on that, those pieces of language and decide whether each of these complies with it. Go from
Yep.
there. Thank you.
Town planner update, debrief from town meeting.
Well, what I was going to say about that is now that the marijuana bylaw has passed, there are just some procedural, administrative things that we need to put in the site plan regulations, and I'll be working on that. But as I mentioned in my presentation, by the time somebody comes to us with a special permit application, combined site plan for one of these, they have to go through half of the Cannabis Control Commission process, which takes a long time. So we have a little bit of time to work on these, you know, administrative regs, which I will be working on. It's, you know, it's,
Thank you.
and we can adopt those after a public hearing. We don't have to go to town meeting.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a comment at this point. I thought your presentation was well done. I thought it was well received.
Yes, yes.
Oh, thank you.
I was dumbfounded by how quickly we also got form-based code for.
I know.
I was so staggered.
Some would say we found a way to keep Alan quiet, but I got it, and At no point in time last night was the planning board asked to opine on anything. So I didn't get a chance to work in the comments that I'm going to say now, and that is, through the efforts of the planning and the economic development office here in town,
Yeah.
we've taken another couple of steps.
Absolutely.
Something will come to us out of this that we didn't see, because that's what happens. But for a moment, sit back and say congratulations.
Yes, indeed.
I think it went really, really well. More than one person said to me last night about your presentation that it was well done, almost the perfect length,
No?
and covered everything.
Nice.
So
Nice.
there's that.
Thank you.
Did we find any car keys?
Oh, no.
We're in session.
These are yours, right?
Those are mine, yeah?
You were sitting over there.
I was, and it must be. I was sure they'd be.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna keep going.
Okay.
I have another under town planner update. Do you have any announcements that you actually want?
No, that's it.
I'm going to bring one piece. Well, I'm going to bring up one piece because this is an announcement. If anybody's still watching, by all means, if you are interested, there is still an open seat on the planning board. We are looking for candidates. We do have a candidate who has approached us. Thank you, Jonathan. Yep.
Yeah.
And so I've passed that gentleman. We've had a conversation, talked about what is involved to a certain extent. Tried to scare him away. Tried to scare you away. And I've introduced him to Robert and Carly by name. So as he gets his ducks in a row, hopefully that we will be entertaining. And I believe the advertisement is open until this week. Till the end of next week or this week, and to Saturday. So, thank you for all your diligent efforts on. We put out an advertisement asking for people to submit.
Yeah.
On the town's website and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If no one knows, then they can extend it.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of it, we'll find out how many candidates we have, and we'll make a choice. If the choice is from one, we have less
So
work
I am
to do.
keeping up. Okay.
Yes,
good.
you are keeping up.
Okay, just checking.
Okay. Administrative announcements, new business. We could probably remove that. I always asked for that before, but I no. Do you have any new business? I'm sorry, Ken.
Ken usually
I was
likes
thinking
having
of board reorder.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean you
Yeah,
were
I
going to
remember that.
remove the new business section?
Yeah, no, we'll leave that there.
I was
Okay.
gonna say, like,
No,
Ken likes
no.
And
that.
then we still have to take care of minutes. So
Oh, right, the minutes, yeah.
yes,
Minutes?
If we're in the minutes, I have.
we're not in minutes
No,
yet.
okay, that's new
If
business.
there's no new business announcements, and I
He's
can.
still looking for
I
his
just
new
want to
business.
fall back to the subdivision regulations. How did you summarize that we're just going to do nothing tonight about it? We're going to start with that when we hold the hearing? Is that what we're going to do? We're not going to talk about it before the hearing?
Well, no, we're going to hold a hearing on the OSRD conservation analysis portion of that, but in the meantime, you know, if people can read the subdivision regs, the full subdivision regs that were passed out earlier.
I'm leaving those on the agenda.
Yeah, that'll stay on the
Until the hearing is
agenda
not
until we
opened.
have the hearing, yes.
Okay.
Until we're comfortable, and we would like the DPW superintendent's comments on those.
Right, he hasn't got back to us yet.
Yeah, he's been, between being busy and being at conferences, you know, but we're working on it.
And to follow up on your request to create some sort of checklist, I looked when I printed I don't know how I can do that with how many sections and subsections there are without it being the same length as the 54-page subdivision regulation.
Yeah, okay, forget it.
I could, it just might take me a week to create it, and it might be longer, if not, than the actual regulation. I mean, if there's something that you really do want, just per section, I
It
could do
wasn't
that,
to me, I
but.
was thinking more in terms of summarizing as we came together.
Right.
Yeah, it's to
Eventually,
create
yes.
some sort of checklist
Eventually,
for
we'll
each
need a
one.
checklist, but we should, it's probably premature to do the checklist now since we don't know what's going to change. Based on the comments of the DPW director, with the new subdivision regs? Yeah, we need to
I
make sure.
don't know much is going to change, I'll tell you that much right now. We know
Okay.
that. You
Well,
and
I
I
don't
worked on it for 6 months.
Right, I know,
With
it's,
Dan, so not much is going to change,
no,
I don't think.
Okay.
Okay, whatever, that's no problem.
yep.
Move us on to the minutes. Let's see if we can get through these pretty good.
I think we can, just across at least 2 of the 3 minutes.
Yeah, just before we start, I'm sorry, Ken called with a few comments about the beginning of them with the vice chair and chair clerk being wrong in the first 28th and 14th, and I corrected those.
You are the vice chair.
You're not the vice chair, you're the clerk, so I didn't change that.
All right,
That's
thanks.
okay.
I don't know what your comment was, but I just
No,
wanted to let you know that I
no,
did
no,
change
no, that
those
wasn't it.
on
Okay.
the corrected.
So
ones. Okay.
which minutes are you looking at?
Yeah.
What
So
date,
first,
please?
it's here, I'm looking at a couple because it's across a few.
Let's,
The issue of the map that we need to sign. I just want to know what's the follow-up on that?
Oh, yeah, the follow-up is Alan and I need to go to the Montezuma Regional Planning Commission and meet with them to get the form-based code on there, get the updated aquifer boundary on there, and get the title block, you know, everything that's mentioned
the
in the
title and
bylaw,
signature
so-
block. Title block and signature block. please.
Signature, yes. So
Okay.
we will develop a new zoning map so that it can be, you know, ready.
I just want to make sure that didn't just
Yeah.
drop.
No.
because
Oh,
it's a-
no,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Specifically, May 7th,
Yeah, we'll start with May
Um,
7th, please.
at 6:22 PM, Mr. Jonathan Kranz made a motion to approve the,
Oh, did I
we just
do-
dropped the word minutes, we just need to put that in there.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank
I'm
you.
Well, you
happy.
filled it in, didn't you? As you were reading it?
There you go. And then, I'm sorry, let me show,
You
other
approved
people would comment on
everything.
those.
Can you do that for me?
Prove that.
May 14th?
Well, let's
Hold on,
just do
sorry,
one
hold
at
on,
a time,
hold on.
please.
Nope,
Yeah.
sorry.
Any other comments on May 7th that have not already been submitted? I'd accept a motion to accept the minutes of May 7th as amended.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for May 7th, 2019 as amended.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is
Opposed?
that the one I have to abstain from?
You have to abstain, yes.
I would
Abstentions? Yeah.
One abstention.
Thank you. Minutes for May 14th.
Okay, if you look just below, approve the agenda at 6,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
colon,
I
whatever
filled that
is.
in too, and I did fill that in and change that.
What is that, 6:10?
It was,
Whatever. what you
six,
change.
I usually do six, between 6:15 or 6:16.
Fine, cool.
I'd recommend 6:16, but that's okay.
And then,
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
a
Thank you.
little further down, if you look under review, A&R Whitehorse Builders, 1, 2, 3, Mr. Jonathan Kranz asked the mince zoning, each of the parcels would be an issue to build on house on them, or a house on them?
Any house on them.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, good.
Thanks, Pat.
Second page, under request for extension, site plan 22 Fitchburg Road, Mr. Paul DeGeronimo, I believe, not Mr. Farrell. And
Sorry.
Spell
and the
check.
third line down, spacing area, I think you mean abutting, not debuting.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a tool.
Oh, no. My Conservation Commission in Littleton was brutal. I never once had a set of minutes approved without changes in 6.5 years.
Microsoft has made it worse. Those are the only things I had.
Anyone, any further? Fantastic. Hearing no further comments, I'd accept a motion for the minutes of May 14th, 2019, Ayer Planning Board as amended.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Opposed? None. Minutes of May 28th, 2019. And we are assuming you did change the roles, chairman, vice chairman, and clerk?
Yeah, that
Russell,
one I
thank
had
you.
it all set.
Yeah, this one's all set. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah, I just missed the 14th.
So I can't be.
And I missed you as chair, I was vice chair on all of them.
It's okay.
It's the same one, I just keep, but it's now fixed. Even when your sign is fixed.
I have something. Go ahead.
I know I wasn't there for this, I'm going to abstain from the vote, but just as a question, someone, I just wanted to know, on top of page 4, and I'm sorry I wasn't present at the meeting, Mr. Archambault started to work with Ms. Hampson on reviewing the planning board rules and regulations of the public hearing to change the butter notification of future hearing.
Yeah.
Does that happen? I'm just
No, I have
curious.
to do that.
And the very last paragraph on 4, Chairman Tillotson stated he feels that when the board was discussing the OSRD zoning, that he was the something intention to have a special permit for the driveways. What's the intention of that sentence? The very last one on page 4.
I have two. I'm actually the one ahead of you there, the one just before.
Shared driveways.
That'll clear it up if I go to
There
the
we
one
are.
before.
And the word
Okay.
shared in there.
So,
Oh, the intention, that he was, How does the sentence work? Discussing OSRD that he was the,
While discussing.
oh,
No, it doesn't say that here.
I know it doesn't say that, that's why I'm changing it to.
Would we please, would one of the members please recommend wording?
So can I recommend the paragraph before, then we'll get it in the sequence. So in the paragraph before, it says, Mr. Diskin read this section to other board members. There's a question regarding the need for a special permit if more than one shared driveway is proposed, but it's not, it's if shared driveways are proposed, one or more. It's not more than one, it's one or more.
So we're gonna add the words between if and more, one or, more, than one or more.
shared driveways.
Remove the word than, shared driveway.
Ways.
It's proposed, which shall be held at the same time as the public hearing for the definitive subdivision. Chairman Tillotson stated that he feels that when the board was discussing the open space residential development zoning, that I was going to probably say that it was the intention to have a special permit.
Oh, I'm
Is
sorry.
it- is-
Oh, I'm sorry, I got it. Yep. That's
Okay,
it. Thanks.
thank you. And that generated questions from Ms. Barrett. Any other changes? If not, I will entertain a motion, please, for approving the minutes of May 28th, 2019 as amended.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
all hearing. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to abstain because I wasn't there.
I'm gonna get you there.
Okay.
Opposed? No. Abstain? One abstention, Mr. Krantz. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the minutes. It's nice to not have to do that.
As members,
Yes.
and be the clerk's.
Yes, go ahead.
New
I
business.
understand. I'm on
We have a
another
new
board,
bit- we have a new
so I
business item.
appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, what are you thinking of?
So, I was looking for this, but we never got this on a PDF, the actual application itself. I was looking for an application
Oh.
and the
okay.
narrative and so forth.
We didn't send that
No,
out?
we never got that.
You said you were gonna request that, you were gonna ask Cal for a PDF.
What's that?
I have it on disk, I told you I was
Oh.
on
That's-
disk.
That's,
Okay, the
Yeah.
application thing, I thought, oh,
typically, there's a narrative, a discussion
a
about the
narrative
applicant,
discussion.
and an
Okay.
application. It tells you what's
All right.
going on.
Oh, that would be nice.
yeah,
Yeah, which is required of all the other
Excellent.
applications that are
okay.
redone.
So I'm
We
looking
had
through
sent that
the,
out, that was an oversight.
What's going on?
Oh, this is helpful.
Yeah, yeah, I'll,
Oh, we even have
we'll send that
pictures.
out
Ortho images.
if we'll get it.
Loving it.
Photo stations and ortho
Yeah, you
images.
have it all in your packets, it's just,
Okay, good.
if I send it out to you like
Oh.
mail, then, yeah, they have it in their packets.
Oh, they have
I
it
get
now?
extras for
Oh,
them in
yeah.
your
You
packets.
did?
Oh, yeah.
That was in there?
tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
Oh, tonight. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Tonight.
I
If,
apologize.
if I give them to you outside the meeting and I don't get them back,
In
then
the
I'm now
future, it needs
printing
to be-
40 whatever pages.
So
extras.
apologies for
Yeah.
not sending that out as a PDF.
Done a lot.
Anything further? No? Thank you all for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Team planning.
See you all in a couple of weeks.
There was no motion to adjourn. Or was there?
No, not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
I will entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motions to adjourn are not open for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.